7 years ago, on the day the great catastrophe struck, the clear sky suddenly blackened, the omen of an event nobody wanted to face, the dungeon eruption. That calamity cost countless lives, including his parents. On that day, when everything vanished in an instant, he was consumed by grief. He swore then and there to become a hunter, to rip those monsters limb from limb and wipe them out. 7 years later, at the memorial park, he was expelled from the hunter training center. All he could do was sit by his parents' gravestone, lost in thought, his eyes still carrying that faint spark of hope to become a hunter. He remembered the trainer's blunt words. "Member Han Seongjun, listen, you're no longer needed at this center." Confused, Seongjun asked, Why are you kicking me out?" The trainer explained coldly. "Listen, awakens finish specialized training in months and debut as hunters. But you've overstayed your welcome. 7 years have passed. Frankly, your talent is trash. If we keep you, the center's reputation suffers." The young trainees sneered. "He comes here every morning, sure, but what a loser. How can someone train 7 years and not improve a single stat?" Seongjun clenched an empty water bottle until it crumpled. Rage shook him. No unique trait, no skills, no stat increases. Why had nothing ever grown? Then he overheard a mother and child nearby. "How did Daddy die?" the girl asked. "When the monsters attacked, Daddy saved people until the end," she chirped. The mother taught, "So if you face hardship, what will you do?" The girl answered, "Be strong, don't give up." That simple resolve pierced Seongjun. He straightened, eyes wide. The mother hugged her daughter and praised her courage. They turned and noticed Seongjun approaching, bowing silently in thanks. Then he ran off without a word, leaving them puzzled. Running, he thought, "I persevered for 7 years. I can't stop now. I will never give up." He returned to the training center on a stormy night. After pounding at the door, it finally opened. The trainer moved to shoo him away. "Go home." But Seongjun pleaded, "Chief, one more chance. Let me take the hunter exam again. I can't give up." The trainer sneered and spat. "You idiot, why don't you get it?" Seongjun flinched. The trainer jabbed on, "Here to beg for your membership fee back? Fine, I'll refund half." Seongjun swore, "It's not about money." Before he could explain, the trainer punched him in the mouth. The light punch sent Seongjun flying into the trash behind the center. The trainer smirked cruelly. "Not here for money, huh, you pathetic failure?" Humiliated and hurt, Seongjun lay in the garbage, wishing if only he had a unique trait or at least some talent. Suddenly, a system message appeared before him. "The trial tower commends your unwavering will." He stared, stunned. "Who commends?" Then his body, which had been on the ground, felt like it was plummeting into a bottomless abyss. "What is this?" he screamed, but no one could hear. The trainer cursed and glanced at the trash. Seongjun was gone. He picked up Seongjun's cap, puzzled, then tossed it in the bin, assuming the kid had been a nuisance. Meanwhile, Seongjun was plunging through a sea-like void, gasping for breath, eventually breaking the surface and hurtling into another dimension. A system screen appeared. "The Tower of Trials has selected suitable candidates from Earth." He wondered, is another disaster coming? The system prompted him to choose a difficulty, higher risk, greater reward. He bit his lip, completely unsure of what was happening next. His instincts screamed he had to choose. This was his only shot. The moment his finger touched the difficulty option, the system whisked him away into another space. All abnormal states cleared, stats restored. The first floor trial is about to begin. He opened his eyes and found himself in the middle of a vast desert. Confused, he looked around as the system materialized a sword before him. His objective was clear: survive. The reward, unlocking a unique trait. 7 years of pain flashed through his mind. Could it be? The thing he had fought so hard for all this time was finally being offered to him as a gift. He stared at his pale hands, laughing bitterly. This is insane. He stepped toward the sword, but before his fingers could reach it, the ground shook violently. He stumbled forward, eyes wide. Trial begins. From beneath the sand rose a monstrous sand golem, its towering frame blotting out the sky. Seongjun's jaw dropped. This is insane. The system chimed. Survive for 9 minutes and 58 seconds. Failure meant death. The giant stomped after him, each step quaking the desert floor. Seongjun sprinted desperately, but fear carved deep lines into his face. He knew he couldn't keep this up forever. Run until I collapse, or fight and die. Either way, I'm dead. But then his knowledge surfaced. Sand golems, their weakness was the energy core hidden deep inside their bodies. If the core was destroyed, they would collapse. His eyes locked on a rocky cliff ahead. If I climb high enough, I might just reach it. He scrambled up the slope as the creature pursued. The golem slipped, creating an opening. Seongjun leapt forward, driving his sword toward its chest. The blade struck the core only to bounce off. It was harder than steel. The monster glared up at him, its eyes burning with the same contempt he remembered from the training hall. The same mocking words rang in his ears. "You're nothing. A worthless loser. Trash." The golem's massive hand clamped around him, crushing down like an insect. Blood dripped from his clenched fists as rage exploded inside him. "Shut up, all of you, shut you pee." With a furious roar, he drove his blade straight into the core. This time, it pierced. The sand golem let out a deafening howl before collapsing into a storm of dust, burying him beneath. Seongjun coughed, clawing his way out of the sand, clutching his chest in disbelief. I actually killed it. I killed the sand golem king." The system rang out. "Congratulations, you have cleared the first floor. Rewards granted." Seongjun staggered to his feet, a wide smile spreading across his face. For 7 years, all he knew was ridicule, scorn, and humiliation. But now he had proof. At long last, Han Seongjun had truly become a hunter. However, Seongjun knew that all of this only mattered if he survived. Suddenly, a crimson object appeared before him. Confused, he watched as black mist rose from where the Scarecrow King had fallen. Though hesitant, he reached out and touched it. The system revealed it was his unique trait. The red essence seeped into his heart, and he could feel souls flowing inside him. If he absorbed more, he could store countless spirits. Closing his eyes, he felt energy rushing through his body. His stats were finally increasing, something he hadn't managed in 7 long years. If he could bring this ability back, he could truly become a hunter. A bright smile spread across his face. A portal opened before him. Though bewildered, he stepped inside and was sent to a waiting room. His body collapsed from wounds, yet moments later, warm energy surged through him. His injuries vanished completely. Testing the room, he realized recovery came after every trial. Still puzzled why such a massive chamber held only a single bed, he lay down and planned his next move. Should he leave the tower, or was there no way back? Just then, the system announced 5 available commands. He steadied himself and opened the community tab. Chaos reigned. Non-hunters had been dragged into the tower too. The chat froze as the administrator appeared, declaring they had vital information. They explained points were the tower's currency. Without them, even water couldn't be bought. Medicine, food, everything required points. To earn them, challengers had to clear trials. Seongjun covered his face in frustration. He had dreamed of becoming a hunter upon leaving, but here, survival itself demanded constant risk. Noticing his rusty sword, he purchased a shield from the shop. Hunters who entered the tower lost their stats, but they could relearn old skills faster. Unlike them, Seongjun started with nothing. Only relentless training could close the gap. Exhausted after hours of practice, he collapsed, only to feel warm energy once again restoring his strength. The room's healing function was a blessing, but his stomach growled. With only 40 points, he had to calculate every purchase carefully. Without his extra rewards, a shield would have been impossible. 17 minutes remained before the second trial. The chat turned silent, everyone knew danger loomed. Seongjun clenched his fists. This time, he would survive again. When the countdown hit 0, the portal opened. He entered and emerged in a strange forest. His mission, assassinate the orc chieftain within the time limit. From a rocky cliff, he surveyed their camp. Guards patrolled heavily. He crouched in the bushes, analyzing. If goblins had hunters among them, then orcs surely did as well. And wiping out an entire orc tribe would normally require a full team of rank E hunters or higher. Alone, the odds were impossible. He considered retreating to plan better, but then a daring idea struck him: fire. Quickly, he gathered wood and torches, uploading them into the system. Orcs, though brutish, were diligent. They hunted during the day and returned at dusk. Until then, he had time. Fire would be his only chance against this overwhelming enemy. Carefully, he approached the camp, observing every movement. According to the Hunter Association, goblin guards didn't stand watch endlessly. They rotated shifts, returning home to eat and rest. He would strike at the perfect moment. Seizing the moment, Seongjun hurled a torch into the orc encampment. The wooden structures erupted in flames, sending the orcs into a frenzy as they scrambled to put out the fire. Before this, he had already slain at least 2 goblin guards. One goblin sensed something amiss and turned back, only to see its companion lying dead by the riverbank, pierced through the skull by Seongjun's blade, activating his unique soul summoning trait. He absorbed the creature's soul, elated at his growing power. But behind him loomed a massive guard, far stronger than the others. The monster swung its sword down, but Seongjun managed to block with his shield just in time. Using the souls he had absorbed, he temporarily boosted his strength. After a brutal struggle, he severed the guard's head, then breathed heavily. One mistake and he would have been dead. Absorbing its soul bolstered his endurance, reducing the danger of fighting future guards. After resting, he marched into the camp like a god of war. Monsters shrank back in fear as he advanced. 4 more enemies and an aged chieftain awaited ahead. He calculated that as long as he could handle the guards, the chieftain would fall. With each absorbed soul, the hunters of this place became nothing before him. Wherever he passed, blood splattered, bodies split apart. One enemy struck with ferocity, snapping his arm as he blocked. Agony coursed through him, but he noticed the guards had abandoned their posts around the chieftain, meaning only they stood between him and victory. Eyes blazing with determination, he fought with everything he had, plunging his blade through the final monster. It collapsed in the flames. But the chieftain unleashed a surge of dark mana. If Seongjun didn't resist, he would die. Believing him dead, the chieftain laughed arrogantly until the smoke cleared, revealing Seongjun still standing. Horrified, sweat dripped down the old orc's face. Though battered and bloody, Seongjun now carried the might of 10,000 blazing flames. The chieftain raised his staff, firing a torrent of energy meant to reduce him to ash. But in an instant, Seongjun's blade severed the staff-bearing arm. The orc howled in pain. Terror filled its eyes as its second arm was also cut away. Broken, it turned and fled into its hut. Seongjun followed slowly, sword ready. He smashed the door open only to freeze at the sight before him. The chieftain was trembling, clutching 2 children. One of the little orcs rushed forward, kneeling at his feet, begging for mercy. Shocked, Seongjun thought, so they too cherish family. Memories of his own parents urging him to flee that dreadful massacre surfaced. But the young orc suddenly drew a hidden dagger, eyes blazing with defiance, and lunged at him. Seongjun slammed the hilt of his sword into the child's head, growling, "Fool, even if I become a demon, I'll slaughter every last one of you." With that, the trial of the second floor ended. Back in the waiting room, he looked at his shattered shield and sighed. "I can't use this anymore, but thanks to you, I survived." He shuddered, realizing how close he had been to death. Checking the community channel, he was horrified. Half the participants were dead. So many lives lost. Then something caught his eye, people discussing ways to return to Earth. Though only days had passed, he longed for normal life again. The system announced he could now use a question voucher, a reward given on each floor for sharing discoveries. The chat filled with revelations. After clearing the 5th floor, challengers could purchase a temporary return stone, granting brief passage back to Earth. After the 7th floor, a massive system expansion would introduce permanent return items. Hearing this, Seongjun's heart pounded. If I went back with my current strength, I could become a famous hunter on Earth. His unique traits and buffs were invaluable, yet the desire to return consumed him, aching like a hammer in his skull. He was only on the 2nd floor, still far from the 8th. He told himself to stay optimistic. Once nothing, his stats had risen to average levels, approaching 20. Tossing aside his tattered clothes, he absorbed the souls he had risked his life to claim. Energy surged within him, propelling him faster than ever. For the first time, he truly felt he had stepped into a superhuman world. He sprinted up the walls to the ceiling, then back down, exhilarated, until his overcharged body crashed into the wall and crumpled. Resting, he browsed the shop, purchasing a new shield, a dagger with enhanced attack power, and an assassin's cloak. Donning his new gear, Seongjun looked sharper than ever, finally resembling a true protagonist. Breathing deeply, he resolved to master his equipment before the next trial. His current goal was clear, to grow so strong that no one could ever stand against him. Seongjun steps through the next gate and the difficulty spikes. This round is a one-on-one duel. The space inside isn't an arena at all, but a pitch-black cavern. 10 seconds. That's how long until the dark guard appears. He steels himself. This thing can strike from any direction, just like the anicap. Suddenly, a shadowy figure materializes behind him, mirroring his stance exactly. He whips around, but before he can do anything, the shadow ghosts past and slices him, leaving a wound. The dark thing gives a nasty, mocking laugh. Bleeding, Seongjun immediately spins and kicks at it, They face off, perfectly mirrored. The monster laughs. Seongjun stares it down on full alert. He's forced to trigger emergency heal to patch himself up. If he hadn't dodged earlier, his spine would have been cut clean through. Then he notices the mimicry. Is it copying him? Well, if that's the game, he'll beat it at it. He charges with blinding speed. The monster reels back in surprise, and as he flashes by, he slices at it a few times. It screams, but its wounds auto-heal. It's using its own healing skill. Every move Seongjun throws, the creature studies and imitates. The arc of its blade becomes a mirror of his. Anticipating this, Seongjun kicks when it closes in. He exploits the one predictable pattern, its imitation. He pours on flawless swordwork, overwhelming it so it can't respond. Exactly as planned. Then in a horrifying instant, its blade points straight at his face, 5 centimeters away. Their weapons clash with a thunderous clang. He bounces it off, but before he fully processes it, the monster starts using his techniques relentlessly. It's not a coincidence. The thing improved ridiculously fast. Now it watches him warily. Seongjun activates his cloak's trait for a speed boost and realizes he can't stall. He must finish this within a minute. He rockets at the thing. It raises its sword and slashes. He evades and kicks its sword arm. The blade trembles. Fear flashes across the creature's face. Seongjun drives his sword into that arm, and at first he allows himself a tiny, victorious smile. But then the monstrous move backfires. The creature counterattacks with the very technique Seongjun used and severs his arm. Blood sprays. He howls, mirroring the beast's earlier scream. After thrashing in pain, he steels himself. This isn't over. He needs to focus harder. The monster now hangs limp, oddly immobile. Why isn't it moving? Even with advanced healing, it should take time to recover. He senses an opening, but without a sword, how can he finish it? The timer reads 11 seconds. Face set, shield gripped tight, he gambles. Better to risk everything than die uselessly. He charges full out and barrels his whole body and shield into the creature. The impact knocks it flat. It lies there, long and trembling. He delivers the killing blow, die. Smashing the shield into it, gore splattering everywhere. Back in the waiting room, his body heals. He tests his restored strength by punching a wall. It caves like a bomb crater. He laughs, relieved. He's fully recovered. But the shadow monster's soul is different. As he absorbs it, he senses the soul density is unlike anything he's encountered. His soul summoning trait levels up to rank E. More than that, he can now absorb skills too. He realized emergency heal came to him in a life-or-death moment. That skill acquisition isn't trivial. A sly grin crosses his face. He never expected to get such an odd trait. Of course, it carries risk and depends on luck, but it's powerful. After a breather, he wanders the community lobby. By the third time here, it feels like home. People are buzzing about the next trial. It's a composite challenge and apparently forces some kind of team action. But it's really a competition between hunters, which translates to brutal slaughter of rivals. He freezes. The next round might actually require killing other people. The fourth floor objective is to defeat King Robin. The clock and rival teams mean either your challenger team dies or time runs out. The stakes just jumped again. Seongjun advances to the fourth floor, this time not alone. 2 companions stand with him inside a glowing magic formation. For the first time, he's facing not just monsters but people. The woman speaks first, smiling warmly. Since we're a team now, let's start by introducing ourselves. I'm Lee Ha-dan, support specialist, hunter rank E. A man follows, his tone laced with arrogance. Hunters, not bad. I'm Lee Sung-hun, rank D, close combat. Seongjun studies him silently, rank D, not to be underestimated. Then he introduces himself. Nice to meet you. I'm Han Seongjun. I also specialize in close combat, but I'm not a hunter. I just want to become one. Sung-hun scowls. What, you want to become a hunter? Don't drag me down, rookie. The words sting, but Seongjun replies calmly. I can handle my part. Still, Sung-hun sneers. Better, if you become a burden, I'll kick you out myself. Rookie, stay at the back and handle scraps. Seongjun only thinks to himself. Of course. I almost forgot that look of contempt is nothing new to me. The tower doors creak open and a horde of goblin guards flood in. Sung-hun slashes desperately, scratches marring his skin, cursing. Why are they this organized? Damn it. Rookie, what the hell are you doing? Fight. But at his feet, Seongjun already stands over a carpet of goblin corpses. He coolly replies, Haven't you noticed what's happening yet? Meanwhile, Ha-dan chants, I'm almost done casting, just a bit more. Shut up, come help me. Sung-hun roars back, but she's exhausted her support spells already. Seongjun calls out, mocking. Hunter Lee Ha-dan looks like he needs help. Then, ignoring her warning cry, he flashes forward. She panics. Wait, if you leave, who'll guard the rear? But then she turns, stunned. Every goblin behind her is already dead. Impossible, she breathes. Two flying goblins dive toward Sung-hun. He struggles, cursing. Damn pests! Another goblin flanks him, hurling a spiked iron ball that smashes his arm. His sword clatters to the ground. The goblin before him raises its blade for a killing strike. Damn it, if it weren't for that useless rookie, he yells. But before the blade falls, Seongjun cleaves the monster in half. Silence. Sung-hun stares dumbly at the bisected goblin. Even the other monsters recoil in shock. Seongjun stands before him, voice cold. Lee Sung-hun, step back. The man is frozen, speechless. Seongjun repeats icily, you're in my way. Then he surges forward, sword flashing, killing one goblin with each stroke. He slaughters them all, earning the achievement Goblin Hunter. He immediately absorbs their souls, noting, the dark smoke conceals my movements. Fighting them is so much easier now. He even gains a goblin skill, night vision. His eyes glow, vision widening to pierce the dungeon darkness. He can even sense targets in range. Perfect. Too perfect. But Sung-hun refuses to concede, spitting. Rookie, you just got lucky. A bunch of weaklings, that's all. Luck's a kind of strength, so congrats. Ha-dan and Seongjun both give him a look of pure exasperation. Seongjun tilts his hat coolly. Thanks, from now on I'll lead. If there's danger, I'll signal any objections. Sung-hun eyes him warily before muttering, fine, but if I'm not leading, what's my job? You guard the rear, protect Ha-dan. Ha-dan, you take the middle and watch the sides, report anything unusual. Got it, she nods, relieved. They press deeper. Monsters multiply and Seongjun harvests soul after soul, heads flying. Yet after a time, Ha-dan frowns. Strange, so many goblins before, but now none. Seongjun instantly senses it too. Without a word, he dashes ahead. Wait, Ha-dan cries, but then she sees it. Every monster ahead has already been slaughtered. Something or someone cleared the path before them. Standing before a pile of corpses, he assumed that a team must have passed through here before them. How could they be so fast? Touching the bloodstains, he realized the blood was still fresh. They can't have gone far. We must hurry. He calculated silently. If that team wiped out all the bugs before him, the punishment would only have one result, death. Seongjun immediately urged his group to speed up. Elsewhere in the tower, several monsters appeared. A young man stood facing them. Another wielded 2 daggers, while a domineering man sat atop a monster's head, bored as he muttered, these pests are annoying. Hurry and find the boss. Once enough monsters had gathered, he leapt forward, severing their necks in a single stroke. Then he rushed outside, looking down with contempt at the weaklings before him. Soon an entire horde of monsters lay at his feet. The other 2 only flattered him. Brother Sion, you're incredible, thank you. Sion frowned with disdain. You 2 are useless, especially you, Jinho. Can't you do anything? Jinho could only reply, it's all thanks to you, Brother Sion. Sion glanced toward a door ahead. Forget it. Scolding you is pointless. Open the door, we'll fight the boss now. He ordered Jinho, go open it. What are you waiting for? Jinho walked off cursing under his breath. Damn bastard. When they fulfilled the conditions to summon the boss, a notification appeared. If more than 2 teams are present in the area, the Goblin Chief will not appear. Until the Goblin Chief is defeated, no team may leave this restricted zone. The entire area was sealed. Sion frowned. What? 2 teams? His companion shouted in alarm. Look, over there. It was Seongjun's team that had appeared. Sion stepped forward, intrigued. So another bunch of scum has shown up, huh? Seongjun stopped, warning his allies. They look strong, especially the leader. Let me go first. Lee Ha-dan, stay behind and buff me with agility and recovery. Lee Sung-hun, protect her. Don't let them get close. She replied firmly, understood. He continued, they killed goblins this fast, we can't underestimate them. I'll go in first, you all back me up. Manage your energy, don't waste it. Lee Ha-dan, use your power wisely. Under her support, his stats steadily recovered. Advancing, he thought, I've mastered this power. I've gained much experience to reach this point. Still, this battle won't be easy. On Sion's side, he warned his men, he's coming, be ready. Seongjun shot up like a rocket, scattering dust in his wake. Sion was startled and ordered Jinho maximum shield now. Jinho deployed his shield. Even behind its strong defense, they were shaken as Seongjun's blade cracked it on impact. The 3 inside staggered under the force. Without hesitation, Seongjun leapt again. His first strike hit Jin Ho. The other two barely withstood his assault, looking grim. Even his own allies were stunned at his ferocity. Seon's face reddened, his eyes like bullets locked on Seongjun. The two clashed violently, weapons ringing in midair. Seongjun sensed something strange. His skill was superior, yet Seon blocked with bizarre techniques. Deciding to finish it, he circled behind and unleashed a decisive strike. But Seon countered, deflecting his sword, leaving Seongjun momentarily shocked. Seon smirked sinisterly, his eyes giving away the secret. He could see through Seongjun's moves. Facing him, Seon suddenly found his view obscured by a floating shield. Behind it, Seongjun appeared and pierced through Seon's body. Seon coughed blood, cursing, "You damned bastard." A system message appeared. "Congratulations, you have completed a special mission." Seon's two allies rushed to his corpse. Seongjun's bleeding hand trembled. Ha-Dan noticed, startled, and asked softly, "Are you okay?" His face was covered in blood as he replied, "I'm fine." She thought to herself, realizing he was shaken after killing a man, so he isn't as cold as he seems. Seongjun interrupted her thoughts. "I plan to challenge the boss now. What do you think?" Both companions agreed. They soon confronted the boss. Riding atop it, Seongjun struck again and again until it collapsed at his feet, completing the trial's objective. Watching in awe, Sung-hun murmured, "He's truly a monster." On the way back, their leader walked ahead, leaving Seongjun and Ha-Dan together. He said, "Lee Ha-Dan, I hope you return safely." She nodded but stared at him until he asked, "What is it?" She answered, "Maybe it's bold of me to say this, but you only did what had to be done. If you hadn't, I would have." He smiled, "I'm glad you think so." She opened her system panel and sent him a friend request. "Thanks to you, we cleared the 4th floor. Too bad I didn't receive any reward. When we return to Earth, look for Lee Ha-Dan of the Silver Guild." It was the first time a girl had sent him a friend request. He stood speechless as she disappeared into the portal. Looking at the lingering souls of monsters, he noticed something else, the souls of those he had slain. If I absorb a human soul, he hesitated. He had always avoided it, knowing once he did, there would be no turning back. But now he raised his hand, resolute. The man's soul drifted into him. I must grow stronger, but not by killing humans unless forced. His dream of becoming a hunter ignited his deepest desire. The Tower of Trials had given him an opportunity, and he would seize it. He vowed to climb until he reached the very top. Seongjun returned to the waiting room. At this moment, every player received their ranker ranking. The system prompted him to choose a nickname. He rested his chin in his hand, thinking for a long while before finally deciding on a name, Hunter. Checking the 4th floor rankings, he saw his own name on the list. One detail made his eyes widen in shock. His current rank was 16. He hadn't expected to place that high. The top 50 challengers were called pioneers. They would also receive benefits on the 8th floor. If he could maintain pioneer status until the 8th floor, he would even gain a special privilege called Radiance. Thinking for a bit, he decided not to dwell on it. He would find out once he reached that point. For now, it was time to absorb the souls of those he had killed. He could feel himself truly surpassing human limits. After a while, he purchased a return stone to prepare for going back to Earth. He wondered if his equipment could be taken with him. At that moment, he was filled with an intense longing to return. That wish was about to come true. Activating the stone, he gained 3 days on Earth. In his familiar room, sunlight and a soft breeze stirred the curtains. Seongjun collapsed onto the bed he had always missed. He opened his eyes, staring at the ceiling for a long time. Only after taking it all in did he sit up, glancing around at his computer and the training rules he knew by heart. Finally, he truly realized he was home. But then he immediately flopped back down, deciding what he needed most was a good sleep. Compared to the bed in the waiting room, this place was heaven itself. The only problem was the overpowering stench coming off his body, so strong he couldn't stand it himself. He sprang up, complaining that the smell was tormenting his nose. First, he needed a shower. Setting foot on the floor, he spotted his equipment. Excited, he picked up his sword. He had only tested his luck, yet items from the Tower of Trials had indeed carried over to Earth. But that also meant others could do the same. He resolved to act quickly. As more challengers returned to Earth, equipment would become more abundant and the buyers' wallets would grow thicker. After a while, he decided he would sell some of his gear for money. But there was one problem. Only certified hunters were allowed to sell equipment. Normally, one had to register for the hunter certification exam and wait until their next return to Earth to take it. Pulling out his phone, he searched for information and realized he would be very busy in the coming days. The scene shifted to the training center where he had spent 7 years. From above, the coach watched as trainees sparred below. Suddenly, the phone at his back rang. Answering, he said, "Hello, this is Hwang Manhwa, director of the White Lotus Hunter Training Center." On the other end, Seongjun replied, "This is Han Seongjun. Do you remember me, director?" Hwang Manho's tone immediately turned disdainful at the name. "Of course I remember. If you want a membership refund, you can do it online. You don't need to call me personally." Seongjun quickly responded, "I don't want any refund." The director pressed, "Are you sure? Think carefully before deciding." Seongjun said firmly, "I've already thought it through, but I need you to do something for me." The director sighed, bored. "If you want to extend your membership, I can't help with that." Before he could finish, Seongjun cut him off. "Arrange the hunter exam for me." The director immediately rebuffed, "Have you forgotten the results of your comprehensive ability test? You were rank F, the lowest possible. You had no traits, no skills, even if you ask. So even if I pay membership fees, you still won't help me." Seongjun interrupted again. This time the director replied bluntly, "If you pay, then I have no reason to refuse." At last, Seongjun smiled with satisfaction, having achieved his aim. "Then it's settled. Please arrange the hunter exam for today." Finally, he dragged his stinking body into the bathroom. There he could clearly see himself in the mirror. He thought in disbelief, how can someone this handsome exist? Running his hands over his six-pack abs, he marveled at how much his body had changed after all he'd endured. He spent over half an hour admiring himself before realizing he needed to rein it in. Now wasn't the time for vanity. The exam was scheduled, and he had to leave soon. As soon as he opened the door, his eyes fell on his beautiful neighbor. This was the ordinary life he had long forgotten. Just seeing her gave him peace of mind. He greeted her. But she looked back with a less than pleased expression. It seemed she too was striving to become a hunter. Still, she returned his greeting and they passed each other, saying they'd meet again. Yet as she glanced back at his figure, she was shocked. When did he get this tall? Seongjun walked outside, raising his hand to call a taxi. No one paid him any attention, his eyes fixed forward, lost in thought. Without another word, he leapt onto a rooftop and dashed forward. After a short distance, he realized this method was quite convenient. In the blink of an eye, he arrived at his destination, the Hunter Association building. Seongjun entered, locking eyes with the coach and manager. Facing each other, they exchanged a mysterious smile. Seongjun spoke first. "It's been a while, Director Hwang." The other man chuckled and asked, "Why are you so late?" Seongjun gave a bitter smile and replied, "Lately, I've had to deal with some personal matters, and it felt like years have passed." Hearing this, the coach looked surprised. Personal matters, the kind of matters like that. At that moment, the man beside him stepped forward and introduced himself. "Hello, I am Supervisor Kim In-ho, in charge of evaluating the hunter examination. As you know, Han Seongjun, under Director Hwang's supervision, you may be exempted from the theory and interview sections. Do you have any questions about the process?" Seongjun walked toward them and said he understood everything already and only wanted to begin. Not long after, he was holding a longsword, stepping into the testing room. The coach glanced at the supervisor and warned, "As I said, make the test as difficult as possible." Supervisor Kim replied, "No need to worry, I have prepared the toughest opponent for a swordsman." He then turned to Seongjun, bowing slightly. "Han Seongjun, if you're ready, please choose the difficulty level of the exam. You may pick between level 1 and level 10. In his last attempt, he remembered choosing level 1, yet even then he was defeated by a small goblin. That memory had been humiliating and painful. He had blamed himself for being weak, but this time he had resolved to be different. Before he could speak, the coach scoffed from above. "Of course, you'll choose level 1 again." But before he finished, Seongjun declared firmly, "I choose level 10. The coach froze in disbelief. "What?" Seongjun turned back with a confident smile. To the coach, he looked like nothing but a madman. The exam began. his opponent appeared, the Fire Phoenix. The moment it cried out, Seongjun's movement speed dropped by 25%. Even the ordinary sword in his hand began to crack, despite him not having done anything yet. The coach, watching from outside, sneered inwardly. He recalled the scene in the armory earlier. In fact, he had sabotaged the weapon himself. He was certain Seongjun wouldn't be able to pass, and thought this would be a perfect lesson for a cocky brat who didn't know his limits. Back on the battlefield, the Phoenix unleashed a torrent of flames toward him. Seongjun stood still, waiting for it to come closer. This scene was accompanied by the coach's panicked shout echoing in his memory. That day, his name would be listed among the successful candidates of the Hunter certification exam. The successful candidates erupted in cheers. In that instant, Seongjun felt like the best. But as time went on, the gap between him and his peers only grew. Eventually, he had given up, because in a world of hunters where talent reigned supreme, he simply couldn't keep up. He had no choice but to accept reality and stop striving. Standing before that massive door, he once thought humans were destined to fail, that the towering walls were unbreakable. It was a way of consoling himself, believing not only he but everyone was bound by the same limits. And so now the coach thought Seongjun should give up as well. Even before he could swing his blade, the sword shattered under pressure. Seongjun leapt down, puzzled. No matter how low the grade, a sword shouldn't break this easily. His eyes turned toward Hwang Manhwa, who was watching with a vile grin. He clearly wanted to see how Seongjun would cope with a broken weapon. The Fire Phoenix continued spitting fireballs at him. But Seongjun's gaze was sharp and resolute. Things were actually going smoother than expected. This was the perfect chance to test the skills he'd mastered on the 4th floor. He engaged instant acceleration, launching himself upward, soaring even higher than the Fire Phoenix. When he landed on a rooftop, the ground caved in 15 centimeters under the impact. The Phoenix was visibly shaken by the display. Looking up at it, Seongjun smirked mischievously. Compared to when he used the assassin's cloak, his speed had increased drastically. The beast spewed fireballs relentlessly. Seongjun leapt from the rooftop straight at it, and with the broken hilt still in his hand, he drove it mercilessly into the creature's eye. Blood burst out as the Phoenix let out a heart-wrenching scream, writhing in the air. After landing, Seongjun assessed the situation. Just as expected, the broken blade was too short to kill it. So he picked up a brick from the ground and hurled it. The projectile struck perfectly, smashing the Phoenix's skull like splitting firewood. The brick then whizzed past, grazing the 2 men on the sidelines, chilling them to the bone. It was a warning. As the Phoenix collapsed, the test was complete. Feigning innocence, Seongjun waved to them. "Are you guys all right? I didn't expect it to fly so high." His lips curved into a smug smile. Not long after, an association staff member handed him a Hunter certification card. Smiling, she congratulated him. "From this moment, you are officially a C-rank hunter and a member of the Hunter Association." He asked the woman, "Now I can enter dungeons and sell items, right?" "That's correct," she replied. Meanwhile, elsewhere, the coach was furiously pounding the desk, shouting at Supervisor Kim, demanding an explanation. "I told you to make him stumble for 10 seconds, not to completely immobilize him." Supervisor Kim snapped back in annoyance. "Ridiculous. We already tried our best, but with Seongjun's abilities, even adjusting the difficulty so he couldn't move was useless." The coach pressed on. "Then why couldn't you lower his rank?" "Impossible," Kim answered firmly. "The minimum requirement to defeat the monster in the exam is rank D, and it must be done within 10 seconds. If I only gave him rank D, the association would definitely question me." Just as the coach kept berating the supervisor, Seongjun entered and said casually, "I've already received my certificate." Walking straight up to the coach, he mocked, "Your complexion doesn't look so good. Did something happen?" The coach could only force a smile. "Congratulations, or rather, I should now call you Hunter Han Seongjun." Seongjun smirked. "Oh, that reminds me, Director Hwang, your rank before retirement was C, wasn't it?" The man froze for a moment, then asked warily, "What are you implying?" Calmly, Seongjun replied, "I remember you once called me useless. Honestly, I think the real useless one is you." The coach's rage boiled over. He lunged at him. "You little brat." But Seongjun only smiled to himself. "Just as I thought, he's so easy to provoke." In his eyes, the man's fist moved slower than a turtle. Seongjun twisted and drove a punch straight into his gut, releasing the resentment of 7 long years. Then he turned to those present and reminded them, "This is just legitimate self-defense." With that, he swung his hand again, landing a thunderous slap that sent the man flying 5 meters away. And this is revenge. As he was hurled through the air, face contorted in pain, the man thought desperately, "Is this really the power of a mere C-rank?" Later, outside the association gates, Supervisor Kim handed Seongjun a business card. Surprised, Seongjun asked, "You want me to become an exclusive hunter for the association?" "That's right," Kim replied. "The base salary is 1,000,000 won. If you want more, we can negotiate. You won't be shortchanged." Looking at the card, Seongjun raised a brow. 1,000,000 won? That's not small. Kim smiled, "Because we've seen your immense potential." But suddenly, Seongjun's eyes turned cold. "Supervisor, you manipulated the difficulty of the exam, didn't you?" The question startled Kim. With a sharper gaze, Seongjun continued, "I have no complaints about the salary, but I won't sign with people who can't be trusted." Without hesitation, he tossed the card away, rejecting the offer outright. 2 days later, at Seongjun's home, the news broadcast reported, "Recently, rumors have spread that hunters are being summoned back to the Tower of Trials." By now, the tower was no secret to anyone. During the past 3 days, Seongjun had managed to sell a few items at high prices, making good use of his time. Now he was staring at his phone, waiting. The time had come, time to return to the Tower of Trials. When he fell back into its embrace, joy surged within him. At last, he could savor the thrill of steadily growing stronger. After 3 days of rest, he was back in the waiting room. He glanced at his belongings and realized their presence here meant he could freely carry items between Earth and the tower. Carefully, he organized everything into his personal storage chest. Then, with a bold flourish, he flipped through the air and landed with a heroic pose, even throwing in a rhythmic warm-up routine to ready himself for the 5th floor. Since his return, he had acquired a new skill, True Eye. With this ability, he could perceive the true essence of whatever he observed and distinguish whether someone's words were truth or lies. He hadn't expected such a lucrative reward. It was a brilliant skill, dazzling like the sun itself. Gaining such a high-level ability right after returning made him grin uncontrollably. For preparation, he purchased a D-rank thunder sword and a sturdy iron shield. Gripping the sword, he tested a few swings. Though expensive, it could be wielded one-handed, allowing for faster strikes, and it carried a special effect. Any item with added effects was undeniably valuable. Now it was time to advance to the 5th floor. Excitement surging, he sprinted toward the gate. The condition for passing this trial: eliminate the werewolf leader of the valley. Transported to the cave entrance, Seongjun found the challenge intriguing. From the cliffs, countless glowing eyes appeared, the pack of wolves growling at him. After only 5 seconds of observation, the whole pack lunged at him with all their love. And he returned that love in his own way, slashing through them mercilessly, wolves dropping one after another. With just a few casual kicks, he wiped out the entire pack. He thought they were far too weak. Then came the sound of heavy footsteps. Out of the shadows emerged not one but 3 colossal wolves, their gazes sharp as bullets fixed on him. One of them howled, asserting its dominance. But Seongjun's answer was a swift horizontal slash to its head. Blood poured, yet the strike didn't finish it off. Dwarfed by their enormous size, he tilted his head up, momentarily daunted, yet his lips curled into an eager smile. At last, the true target had appeared. The massive wolves charged. Without hesitation, Seongjun leapt into the air, body surging with momentum. He admitted inwardly, this 5th floor challenge was proving interesting after all. Unleashing a flurry of slashes, he carved into one wolf's body, blood spraying everywhere, quickly felling 2 of them. Landing on the ground, he calculated that the sword skill he'd gained on the 3rd floor was nearing its limit. Indeed, low-tier skills weren't good enough to upgrade further. He'd need to acquire new ones, lest his experience points go to waste. The 2 remaining wolves lunged at him. He gripped his sword tightly, welcoming them. "Come on, you beasts, let me warm up a little." In the end, all of the giant wolves had their souls absorbed by him. Looking at his palm, he thought, in these battles, the thunder effect barely activated. Seems like a 10% chance really is too low. Checking the system panel, he noticed that although the experience points weren't much, his soul summoning technique had improved slightly. He wondered how much mastery he could gain after absorbing so many wolf souls on the 5th floor. As he ventured deeper inside, he guessed he had reached the center of the valley. Suddenly he sensed something strange and stopped. The further in he went, the stranger it felt. Why are there so many wolf corpses here? And these wounds cut clean in half. Looks like someone else was here before me. Even on the cliff walls, there were sword marks. Now was the time for Seongjun to use true eye. Through it, he observed, these are traces of a D-rank light sword. The sword strikes were fast, precise, and deadly. Whoever left these marks has incredibly refined swordsmanship. He pondered about this mysterious wielder. Though he had analyzed the traces, there was still much he couldn't understand. Clearly, this was a formidable opponent. Suddenly, the air grew noisy, echoing with sounds. Confused, Seongjun decided to fly forward quickly. After a short distance, another cave entrance appeared. From within, the bisected corpse of a wolf flew out. Seeing this, Seongjun realized he had arrived at the right place. Immediately, the system announced, "Condition to clear the 5th floor, werewolf leader has been slain, determining cause of death and resolution." Staring at the boss's corpse, he didn't know what to do. Once the analysis finished, the system declared, "An intruder from another dimensional space has entered your mission zone." Seongjun assessed the figure before him, thinking, so he's the intruder, a challenger from another dimension. That meant Earth wasn't the only origin space. If there were other dimensions, then there must also be countless other towers of trials. Truly, this world was far more complicated than he had imagined. The intruder raised his sword and sneered, "Looks like you're here on a mission too." Seeing Seongjun's silence, he grew more arrogant. "What's wrong? Too scared to even speak? Seems like this is the end for you." Pointing his sword straight at him, he shouted. Seongjun was still stunned, surprised that someone else had snatched his target kill. Even so, he felt a stroke of luck. At least the trial wasn't counted as failed. The intruder yelled again, "You don't even dare answer. Clearly you're terrified. Fine then, prepare to die." His face serious, Seongjun watched the enemy rush forward, sword raised. But instead of blocking directly, Seongjun kicked the dead wolf at his feet, sending it flying toward the intruder. The man wasn't troubled. He simply swung his sword, slicing the wolf cleanly in half. At that exact moment, Seongjun closed the distance, his blade arcing around to stab at the man's back. To his surprise, the strike failed. The enemy's armor was crafted from high-grade material, impervious to his sword. The intruder turned back with a devilish grin, too naive. His sword came crashing down. With a shattering sound, the shield Seongjun had just bought was split into fragments. Overwhelmed by the sheer power, his body was hurled through the air until he slammed into the cliff wall. Agonizing pain engulfed him. His entire body ached, and his left arm hung broken and limp. The enemy laughed triumphantly. "Oh, you actually managed to withstand my light sword? Annoying, you're tougher than I expected." Through gritted teeth, Seongjun roared, "You intruder from another dimension, how can you enter my space?" The man laughed even harder. "Ha, just as I thought, you're nothing but a rookie. You don't even know what dimensional invasion is." Seongjun was baffled. "Why does this always happen on my floor?" The intruder ignored him and continued mockingly. "Don't blame me. That's how the tower works. You just don't understand yet. I'll make it simple for you. This ends here." Before he could strike again, Seongjun shouted, "Wait, at least tell me, what exactly is dimensional invasion?" The intruder narrowed one eye at him, then smirked. "Since you're about to die anyway, it won't hurt to tell you. It's a function unlocked at the 8th floor called dimensional invasion. You can buy tickets in the shop to enter someone else's challenge." Seongjun pressed further. "Then when you said origin space, does that mean you really come from another dimension?" The man scoffed. "Where else could I come from?" Slowly rising to his feet, Seongjun nodded. "I see." Activating True Eye, he confirmed the intruder wasn't lying. But the moment he did, the man bristled with fury, sword aimed at him. "How dare you, to probe me with that ability, such insolence?" Seongjun stared right back, unflinching. "So what? What will you do about it?" The intruder blinked, surprised. "What? A rookie dares to talk back to me?" Seongjun calmly countered. "Since you've given me information, let me share something interesting in return." Suspicious, the man narrowed his eyes. Seongjun touched his broken arm and explained. "The reason I can still endure this injury is thanks to a skill called pain resistance, which means I don't have to cradle my arm in agony. If I release it, rapid regeneration will automatically heal it. I only acted weak so you'd reveal the truth." The man scoffed. "So you're a swordsman with healing? Doesn't matter. If your strength is only what I saw earlier, you're still going to die." But Seongjun raised his sword, declaring firmly, "I'm not as weak as you think. For some reason, my strength just keeps growing." The system repeatedly chimed notifications. His abilities were recovering rapidly. Now even the intruder looked shocked. You have both healing and reinforcement skills." Seongjun struck a dramatic battle stance, activating instant acceleration. The enemy's eyes widened in disbelief. "Impossible! A mere challenger on the 5th floor, how can you have so many skills?" In a blur, Seongjun dashed forward, his sword raining down relentless blows. The intruder was forced into a desperate defense, each clash rattling him. "Damn it, this is really the 5th floor. How can he be this strong?" He kept cursing, calling Seongjun a damn rookie, then launched a counterattack, thrusting his sword forward. Seongjun dodged skillfully, making the blade strike the cliff wall instead. He was forced to continuously evade because he knew that was a high-level enhancement skill. If it landed, it would be extremely dangerous. But since his stats were higher, he trusted that he could avoid any fatal blows. The real problem was his opponent's high-grade armor. At his current level, he had no way of piercing it. Still, if he kept applying pressure. The intruder now looked like he was about to burst. Blood began seeping through the cracks in his armor. Trembling, he muttered, "What the hell?" That large body finally collapsed to the ground, drained of strength, reduced to pitiful groans. Seongjun stood over him, thinking, if that armor had resisted the paralysis effect, it would have been troublesome, but luckily, this gamble paid off. The man still quivered on the ground, trying to speak. When he finally opened his mouth, arrogance still laced his voice. "Under normal circumstances, I would have won long ago. How could a 5th-floor challenger possibly pull off so many tricks?" Seongjun stepped closer and replied, "That's because you're too arrogant, too reliant on your armor and on level differences. Now it's time to end this." As his sword hovered above, the man quickly tried to bargain. "Wait, I'll answer any question you want." But Seongjun's voice turned cold like that of a demon. "Unnecessary." With that, his blade pierced through, ending the man's life. As he turned away, he thought, "I'm growing numb to killing, but if I hesitate every time, it'll only cause more trouble later." Before the intruder's body completely vanished, returning to his original space, Seongjun swiftly absorbed his soul. He sighed, staring at his palm. Almost lost it. If someone dies in another dimension, do they disappear completely? He waited for a long time, but no reward notification appeared. Then the system explained. Locked trials provide no direct rewards. All rewards have been recalibrated, upgraded from rank C to rank A. A satisfied smile spread across Seongjun's face. For the reward to scale up this much, that invading knight must have been really strong. An A-rank skill, this is incredible. After claiming his prize, he returned to the waiting room. He immediately checked his inventory, then rested, reminding himself, "Dimensional invasion is real. In this tower, I can't afford to let my guard down ever again." He had many questions waiting until the 8th floor. He didn't even know which to ask first, about invasion powers on the 10th floor, or whether he would get warnings when challengers invaded his space. As soon as he sent his questions, the system replied instantly. Dimensional invasion allows entering another challenger's trial, limited only to the first 10 floors. However, it cannot interfere with special missions such as team trials. This feature unlocks at the 8th floor. Currently, you cannot use it. He wanted to know how to invade another's trial, but the system said it couldn't answer that at his current stage. That revelation startled him. So not every question can be answered. Still, at least I didn't waste my chance just now. Now he wanted to test his best equipment. In his inventory, he found a chest and the shattered shield. Using a magic repair box, he restored the shield back to perfect condition. Then he bathed with purification stones, grumbling that it made him feel like a shy little girl. With preparations complete, he realized he still had plenty of time. Curious, he opened the challenge rankings and the community chat. To his surprise, he had leapt from 16th place up to 3rd. So I'm already benefiting from a high ranking, huh? I really wonder what I'll get once I reach the 8th floor. The chatroom was chaotic, everyone debating over killing and looting each other's gear. After just a glance, he found it overwhelming. Truly, this was a lawless place. The most traded item was currently negative status resistance skills. A double-edged sword, they were effective against mental instability, but came with drawbacks. Users had to sacrifice an equipment slot to carry it, and it could only be used in limited cases. Still, Seongjun thought it was worth having. Suddenly, a curious thought crossed his mind. Has everyone heard that bastard from the 4th floor, the one who gave us false intel, changed his name to Princess Sudai? Even though it was just rivalry between challengers, people were actually plotting to gang up and kill him. Seongjun still remembered him clearly, the one who stirred chaos back then. He etched the name Princess Suli firmly in his memory. Then he entered the 6th floor. The mission condition: capture an outpost within the time limit. Before him stretched an endless ocean, with several preset routes laid out. Seongjun sighed, so it's the sea again, huh? Though the system announced that every challenger had teammates, requiring cooperation, he waited a long while but no ally appeared. Suddenly, a spear thrust toward his head. Instinctively, he caught it midair. At that same moment, the wielder appeared through a spatial gate. The man's eyes widened in shock, only to be yanked down onto the ground by Seongjun. Standing over him, Seongjun demanded, "Even your teammate, you attack him." The man glared back. "Damn it! If you'd been watching the community board, you'd know why. Killing others is the fastest way to earn rewards." Used to such nonsense, Seongjun only asked flatly, "So as long as there's a reward, killing teammates doesn't matter, huh?" His foe sneered, "Hypocrite, take a look around before you preach." And indeed, cries for help echoed all around. "Wait, don't do this, we're teammates." "It's not my fault, blame the Tower of Trials." "Die already so I can claim the prize." "Traitor, help me." The man laughed darkly, taunting Seongjun. "See now, do you understand?" Blades gleamed proudly before even clashing. Soon, chaos erupted as challengers butchered one another. But not everyone was like that. Some fighters still stood shoulder to shoulder like true comrades, believing, at times like this, we should unite. Glad to see someone with the same mindset. How could anyone betray so shamelessly? "You fools, without cooperation, you'll never clear this challenge." Another sneered, "That's right, but me, I don't need teammates." The moment those words left his lips, his blade sank straight into the back of his so-called ally. A smiling mouth but murderous hands, his eyes turned cold. "If you trust me without guarding yourself, you don't deserve to be a challenger." The system chimed. He had earned the backstab achievement. He turned to Seongjun with a mocking grin. "What? Don't tell me you don't want the reward too. Stop pretending to be some righteous saint." Seeing Seongjun ignore him, the man saw his chance. He tightened his grip on the sword and lunged with everything he had, aiming to finish Seongjun right there. But without even turning his head, Seongjun felt the strike coming. He slipped past with fluid ease, snatched the spear, and drove it clean through the man's back. You wanted a quick death, but insisted on a miserable one. The traitor's final thought, "Damn it, how?" The system once again rang, betrayal achievement unlocked. To Seongjun, the man was far too weak. So this was the special trial? A team cooperation mission. And yet it felt no different from all the chaos before, except this time victory promised a high-tier skill. Worth it. Seongjun resolved, "I won't kill without reason, but if someone gives me one, I won't hesitate." Elsewhere, a challenger encased himself in a shimmering magic barrier, laughing smugly inside. "This trial only favors water mages like me. Victory is already mine." But suddenly something splashing across the waves drew his eyes. Xiangjun, sprinting on water, his speed monstrous. Before the mage could process it, Xiangjun leapt before his shield. Who the hell is this guy? The mage didn't even finish his thought before a thunderous kick smashed into the barrier. He smirked. Fool, this is bulletproof shield. The words died on his lips as Xiangjun's foot broke through and crushed his face flat, launching him across the floor. The mage crashed down in disbelief. Xiangjun landed calmly beside him. Maybe I went too far, but it worked. The other challengers froze, their eyes wide. He's a monster, forget it, change routes. One by one, they backed off, leaving Xiangjun labeled as a freak to be avoided. He sat on the crimson tiles, thinking, if fear alone can scatter them, good. I don't want to kill needlessly, but I do want that reward. The system warned, defend your stronghold, 10 minutes remaining. 10 minutes, easy. Sit tight and it's done. Most challengers had already fled or returned to the 5th floor. Still, the lesson of this trial cut deep. Never trust anyone. Misplaced mercy is the true mistake. Even allies can be enemies. Spare someone now and they'll only die later anyway. Just then, the system announced enemy intruders. A group of 4 materialized before him. The blonde man sneered. Impressive. You must be wondering why 4 people are here in a 2-person trial. Xiangjun studied them calmly. Obvious, you merged 2 teams to gain the upper hand. The blonde smirked, bearing his ugly grin. Exactly, and now you die. 2 of them charged forward. The 3rd released a surge of violet energy, shouting, heartbeat resonance. Suddenly, Xiangjun's pulse wavered. Every wound the caster inflicted on himself would mirror onto Xiangjun. Without hesitation, the caster drove his blade into his own arm. Pain seared through Xiangjun's limb, his right arm trembling until he could no longer grip his sword. Then came a hulking, bald brute, leaping in with a roar bucket of seawater in hand. He splashed it over Xiangjun's body. Instantly, all of Xiangjun's stats dropped by 10%. The bald one swung his fist like a hammer while Xiangjun reeled. Still, his eyes burned cold as ever. So that's your plan? Disable my weapon, reduce my stats. Clever. He lunged forward, seizing the head of the smug resonance user. His voice dropped like a death sentence. But you picked the wrong opponent. With brutal force, he slammed the man's skull into the ground. The earth quaked beneath the impact. The system chimed, enemy eliminated, skill acquired, contempt for the weak. The bald fighter panicked, slashing wildly at Xiangjun's back. But Xiangjun twisted free, vanished from his sight, and appeared before him with blinding speed. A sharp elbow strike shattered the brute's nose, followed by a ruthless stomp crushing his shiny, bald head into the tiles. Xiangjun stood tall, a cold smirk curling across his lips. The last 2 challengers froze, horror etched across their faces as they stared at the broken corpses of their allies. And then Xiangjun stepped forward. The blonde one's ally whispered in panic, "What do we do now? Should we attack together?" But before he could react, the blonde man suddenly swung his blade straight into his own teammate's leg. The poor man collapsed, screaming in agony. And just as planned, the pain instantly mirrored onto Xiangjun, sending him staggering as his legs buckled. Damn it, Xiangjun cursed internally. That bastard was right. Pain really is the one thing we all share. Luckily, there's no extra damage, but my movements are crippled by this agony. The stabbed teammate howled, "Are you even human, you bastard?" But the blonde ignored him, mercilessly driving his sword into the man's stomach. Grinning, the blonde threatened, "Stay back. If you come any closer, I'll turn him into a sieve." Even through the torment, Xiangjun kept moving thanks to his pain-resistant skill. Still, fighting under these conditions was dangerous. He knew there was only one real option, take out the heartbeat mage, the source of this cursed resonance. Without hesitation, Xiangjun hurled his last shield like a spinning blade. It sliced clean through the mage's neck, decapitating him in an instant. But as the mage's head hit the ground, white-hot agony tore through Xiangjun's own throat. He collapsed to his knees, clutching his neck, gasping for air. The blonde smirked. "Now's my chance." He charged, blade descending toward Xiangjun's vulnerable form. But at the last second, Xiangjun's bloodied hands shot up, catching the edge of the sword bare-handed. Crimson poured from his palms, but his voice was calm, almost mocking. Getting your throat slit, it really does hurt. Don't you want to know what it feels like? The blonde sneered, certain of victory. But then, with a bone-snapping crack, Seongjun broke the sword in half with his bare hands. In the same motion, he seized the broken blade and slashed, severing the blonde's head in one cold, merciless stroke. No hesitation, no remorse, only silence. And then the timer ended. Across the battlefield, survivors erupted into cheers. "We're alive. We did it." But Seongjun wasn't celebrating. His gaze fell to his blood-soaked hands. To them, do I look like a monster? Before returning to the waiting room, he absorbed the souls of the fallen. His soul summoning skill leveled up to rank D. On the 7th floor's waiting chamber, he opened his achievement log. His eyes widened. An S-rank title, first returner, not something ordinary challengers could dream of. Scrolling further, he saw more titles. C-rank murderer, E-rank ruthless executioner, D-rank bloodthirsty climber. His killing spree had stacked rewards far beyond expectation. New skills, stat boosts, and treasures. A random treasure chest appeared. Probably something between F and B rank, he thought. Not worth much, but let's open it anyway. The chest shone brilliantly, and from it emerged a tiny azure spirit, a sprite no bigger than a fist, fluttering into the air. Seongjun blinked, stunned. His lips curled into a sharp grin. What the hell is this? He lunged to grab it, but the mischievous spirit darted away. Every time he chased, it slipped through his fingers. The game of cat and mouse dragged on. Once, twice, dozens of times, until after the 49th attempt, his hands finally closed around its tiny body. Seongjun burst out laughing. Got you finally. But the victory was short-lived. The sprite bared its teeth and sank them deep into his hand. Pain exploded through him. Arg! He roared, nearly popping his eyes out from the sting. And with that, the sprite wriggled free, landing gracefully before dashing off once more, leaving Seongjun furious, bleeding, and bewildered. Seongjun's appearance was starting to twist into something demonic. His voice cut sharp. I was going to spare you since you looked harmless, but now I'm done playing around. This time the creature was ready. Every move he made, it countered. When Seongjun lunged forward, it leapt into the air to dodge. Up, down, left, right, they clashed in a deadly chase. But in the end, the monster couldn't keep up with his speed. Seongjun's fist slammed into its head. That smooth, bald skull cracked open, splintering apart into shards. And from within, a glowing necklace. Ding, the system chimed. You have received the highest grade item from a random treasure chest. Iron Forgemaster's necklace, crafted by a blacksmith who devoted his entire life to steel. Seongjun held it with reverence, eyes wide, completely enthralled. The Iron Forgemaster's necklace. Without hesitation, he slipped it around his neck. Immediately, a blessing activated. Skin attuned to steel. You now absorb 10% of all physical damage. But that wasn't all. It boosted his sword skills by 7%. Offense and defense in one item. Better than most A-rank gear, practically cheating. Seongjun's face lit up with pure joy, like he had just hit the lottery. But that smile froze in an instant. The system flashed again. Mana depleted, blessing of steel effect terminated. His grin twisted into a frown. So that's the catch, it drains a massive amount of mana. Still, he tucked it close to his chest. It was too valuable to waste. Something to be saved for emergencies. First, he needed to build his mana reserves back up. As he opened his system panel, another notification appeared. Do you wish to challenge the 7th floor? Normally, challengers got a rest in the waiting room before the next trial. But finishing early apparently forced everyone forward. He checked the community board, and sure enough, chaos had erupted. The cooldown timer was gone for everyone, and the chat was filled with curses at the admins. But Seongjun realized something most didn't. This change didn't help anyone, especially the top-ranked pioneers. To them, the only thing that mattered was getting home alive. His eyes hardened. Murderers using their teammates as pawns, I'll have to be even more cautious. He knew the next floor was solo battles, no reason for killers to stir up attention. Still, their existence haunted him. Determined, he focused on his new skill. Soul Summon, now upgraded to rank D. Before, it only enhanced his stats. But now, it could bend magic itself, even forming a protective shield. Exactly what he needed, a true defense. He tested it, thrusting his sword forward. A shimmering barrier of souls appeared, taking the blow. Damage that should have shredded him was absorbed into his blade. His hand trembled as he stared at it. So, I can choose, absorb all the souls for power or hold some back as living shields. Checking the leaderboard, his heart sank. He had dropped to rank 4. Disappointment flickered, but he quickly shook it off. Staying in the top 50 was enough to secure pioneer status. With time to kill, he did aerobics, restless and eager for the next trial. Finally, it was time. The 7th floor, prove yourself. Darkness swallowed him, then opened into a dim underground corridor. The silence was suffocating. He pushed forward until blinding light exploded around him. A desert. The trial demanded he face his fears. The sand shifted, rising into massive constructs. Sandmen, the very same from the beginner trials, except this one was 3 times the size. Its massive hand clenched, ready to crush him. Seongjun's lips curled into a grin. This was no ordinary fight, this was a test. The Sandman swung. The ground split under its strike, shockwaves rattling the desert. Seongjun narrowly dodged, springing onto its arm, leaping high to survey its body. But something was wrong. The core, it wasn't visible. Did it move it deeper inside? Before he could answer, its colossal hand slammed into him, gripping his body tight. Cracks formed in its palm. Seongjun slashed wildly, his blade tearing him free. He wasted no time, cutting again and again, shredding the Sandman's body. But no matter how many pieces he carved, it was still just sand. His hunch was right. Without finding the core, it would never fall. The Sandman roared, slamming a fist down with godlike force. Then it raised a massive leg, kicking with the power of an earthquake. Each impact sent shockwaves across the battlefield. Seongjun cursed under his breath, dodging desperately, but the storm of attacks pinned him down. Then disaster. The ground gave way, swallowing him whole. He tumbled into a pit of sand, buried alive. Seconds later, his head burst out of the dune, gasping, furious, but very much alive. Seongjun's fury erupted. His voice roared across the battlefield. I'm done playing around. He rose to his feet, eyes sharp, as the sand puppet marched toward him. With a flash of his blade, he unleashed the triple slash, slicing the creature clean in half. But the sand flowed back together, reforming instantly. No hesitation. Seongjun leapt again, blade flashing, raining strikes down. He knew one decisive blow could crush it. Strangely, he found himself grateful. At first, he was annoyed when other challengers interfered in his trials, but now he silently thanked that bastard. Because of him, Seongjun had gained invaluable battle experience. This sand puppet wasn't ordinary. It could endlessly rebuild itself. His only chance was to keep carving it down until the core revealed itself. Through gritted teeth, he snarled, "Go ahead, rebuild as much as you want. I'll keep tearing you apart until nothing's left." Slash after slash, sweat dripping, his patience was tested. The damn thing just wouldn't stay down. Then he noticed something. It was smaller. He tilted his head, mocking. "Since when did you get so tiny? Almost cute, aren't you?" The puppet froze, cheeks faintly blushing, like it actually understood him. Seongjun smirked. He realized the truth. Its body was fueled by sand as a finite resource. The more it fought, the more it burned through that supply. He licked his lips, grin turning wicked. "Hey, puppet, how about we lose some weight together?" The battle reignited. He crashed into it, kicking its arm aside, hacking the body to shreds. The puppet shrieked, now barely half its former size, and there it was. The core glowing at its back. Seongjun's eyes gleamed. 10 minutes of exhausting work, but finally the opening he needed. With only 40 minutes total for this 7th floor challenge, time was slipping away fast. The puppet lunged, fist swinging. Seongjun dodged smoothly, watching carefully. "Faster now that you're smaller, huh? Too bad, I don't have time to play anymore." His blade thrust forward, piercing the core. The puppet howled, the crystal shattered, and in an instant the sand body collapsed into nothing, crumbling through his fingers. A blinding light flared behind him. He spun, trying to absorb its soul, but the transfer failed. "Damn it, this cursed ability again," he cursed before the world shifted. The next trial appeared. His heart skipped a beat. He knew this place, the orc village from the 2nd floor, burned to ash by his own hand. And now before him stood the orc hunters, survivors of his slaughter. They glared at him, eyes blazing with grief and hatred. Muscles trembling, their rage boiled over. Then roars shook the earth. Their eyes glowed blood red. Berserk! Every single one of them was in full frenzy. And worse, there wasn't a single weakling among them. Not one was rank. The horde charged. But Seongjun didn't flinch. He stood tall, whispering coldly, "You shouldn't have shown grief in front of me, at least not here." He exploded upward, blade flashing. In one strike, an orc's arm flew free, and shockingly, the beast dropped to its knees before him. Seongjun sneered, "Hurts, doesn't it? You should have just watched your comrades die." Enraged, the orc lunged with fangs bared. Seongjun sidestepped effortlessly. His counterstroke cut true, the monster's head soared into the air. Just like that, the trial ended. This time he didn't hesitate. He immediately absorbed their souls before the portal pulled him away. Success, and for the first time he grinned. But his relief didn't last long. Because the next stage was the ocean trial, the deadly chase from the 6th floor. At first, he thought it would be a repeat of the 3rd floor, but the tower had other plans. With a heavy sigh, he realized, the tower doesn't test logic, it tests cruelty. He downed a healing potion in one gulp, power flooding back into him. Then, he tossed the empty glass bottle into the sea, smirking, a petty act of rebellion. But the ocean didn't take kindly. A monstrous wave rose up behind him, swallowing the horizon. The very tiles beneath his feet shot skyward in a violent vortex. "I just threw a bottle, what the hell?" No time to complain. He blasted forward, sprinting across floating bricks, dodging whirlpools and towering waves. The challenge was clear: find the red pursuit tile. Touching the water meant death. But the tower's cruelty struck again. Tiles didn't rise in order. The ground betrayed him, bricks exploding skyward. He plummeted into the deadly current. His stats nosedived instantly. Grinding his teeth, he ignited his acceleration skill, launching himself like a missile. Brick to brick, he bounded forward, muttering, "You think I'll die here? Not a chance." Then he saw it, the red tile glowing just ahead, salvation. But the waves rose higher, like living creatures chasing him down. Closer, closer. And then the vortex slammed into his back, sending him flying. His shield absorbed the worst of it, but the pressure was brutal. He roared in pain, forcing himself to keep moving. Out of mana, desperation took over. He pulled a crimson shard from his pocket, the soul of the elven hunter he'd slain, and swallowed it whole. Power surged, dragging him back into the fight. He sprinted again, closer than ever, only for the final tile beneath his feet to rocket into the sky, blocking his path. "Damn it," he cursed, hurling himself blindly into the storm. The sea swallowed him, souls shattered. His body was flung upward, tumbling through the air. The ground rushed up to meet him, until miraculously he crashed down onto a red tile. It shattered beneath him, leaving him sprawled in smoke and rubble. Before him, 3 towering waterspouts raged closer. And yet, he didn't tremble. He met them head-on, eyes defiant. The system spoke, "You have proven yourself, you have conquered your fear." The final challenge was over. Seongjun collapsed into the waiting room, sighing with both anger and relief. He was frustrated. He had nearly failed. The 8th floor would be even worse. If he wasn't prepared, luck wouldn't save him next time. He checked the system shop. Skills, refund points, floor infiltration, all tempting, but above all, auras. The tower had hinted before, being a pioneer carried special meaning. There was something hidden behind the glow of that title. For now, he would choose carefully. Because on the 8th floor, every mistake would cost blood. After long study, Seongjun finally understood. The aura he chose wouldn't just boost him, it would shape every single ability and trait he possessed. And the tower itself had spoken. This was the aura most suited for him. But he was curious, what about the others? The common aura that anyone could use wasn't bad. The one that depended too heavily on talent and willpower, pathetic. He tossed that option aside without a second thought. Now only 2 remained. He hesitated, then made his decision. Seongjun chose the aura of domination. The moment he confirmed, something deep inside him shifted. A unique effect awakened, evolving, sinking into his very core. Based on his current power and the challenger souls he had devoured, a new list of paths appeared. Undying Bone Summoner, Unleash the power to summon skeletal warriors. Demonic Swordmaster. Sharpen swordsmanship and magic, with triple learning speed for any related skill. Creator class. A master of crafting with the same triple learning boost. This was the terrifying power of the aura of domination, making impossible choices simple. He pressed confirm and his entire body changed. For the first time, Seongjun possessed an aura of his own, and with it came a game-breaking ability, the power to fuse useless skills into something brand new. To him, this was heaven. He weighed his options, which should he combine first. Two weak ones stood out. Intimidate the weak and ceaseless combat, perfect candidates. He fused them together. Suddenly the system erupted in strange light, stunning him. A notification appeared. New skill created, power skill, mastery 0%. Effect, ignore any restriction or obstacle caused by skills or talents. Condition, your mana must exceed the opponent's to activate. Seongjun blinked. Wait, this is what I got. I thought if I was lucky I'd pull at least an E-rank, but this is a D-rank skill. His shock turned to laughter. This is insane. Excited, he rushed to try again. The system flashed once more. Open your skill list, choose 2 skills to combine. He picked sharpshooters in sight F and fire resistance F, then hit confirm. Another burst of light, he held his breath. Fusion successful. New skill created, enhanced vision E, mastery 0%, effect, piercing sight even through obstructed environments. Seongjun frowned. Only 1 rank higher, that's it. He sighed. Of course, the first fusion had worked so well because the 2 skills were naturally compatible. But these 2, totally mismatched. The result was weak. He lay back on his bed, drained, and yet doubt gnawed at him. The glorious rewards he kept getting for being a pioneer, were they truly earned? Or was it just blind luck? He sat up suddenly. Forget it, let's see my real reward. The system revealed. Windborne agility A, mastery 0%. Effect, increases movement speed by 10%, can stack up to 7 times, at maximum stacks, cooled on his 1 day. Seongjun's eyes lit up. 10% and no mana cost, incredible. It was light as the wind, flawless, almost without weakness. Overjoyed, he activated it. A footwear option appeared, he calmly equipped it. C-rank boots, attack speed plus 30%. Movement speed plus 5%. Decorated with tiny mechanical wings that accelerate your stride until max velocity is reached. He looked down at the boots on his feet and chuckled. Heh, I love that every floor reward so far boosts my speed. Next, the system shop opened before him. The list of skills scrolled into view. Petrification D. Rootbind E. Dispelling Arts F. Enchanted Weapons E. Instant Acceleration D. Mana Perception D. Mana Shield D. Enhanced Vision F. Seongjun scowled. These are terrible and overpriced, 8,000 points just for instant acceleration, robbery. Still, he needed more magic-based abilities. Gritting his teeth, he selected his purchases. Mana Perception D acquired, minus 15,000 points. Magic Resistance D acquired, minus 12,000 points. Descriptions flickered. Magic Resistance D. Your body resists external magic, but without Mana Perception the effect quickly diminishes. Mana Perception D. Your mana forms a detection field, heightening magical awareness. Seongjun nodded. Perfect. With this, I won't get caught by those synchronized mind-link tricks again. Then red mana surged. It wrapped around his body, even changing the glow of his eyes. The skill was being branded into him. The heat grew unbearable. He screamed. It feels like I'm burning alive. A gale swept the room as the magic fused with his body. Then silence. He slowly landed on the floor, gasping. My body, it feels so light. But something strange stirred. The ground cracked beneath his feet. He blinked. Wait, these skills actually strengthen my body too. Looks like I just got a huge bargain. He laughed out loud, exhilarated. And then another notification appeared. You may now use souls to awaken the dead nearby. The quality and number of souls consumed will determine the result. Seongjun's eyes narrowed. Awakening the dead, I'm curious, but in the arena, that might get messy. He closed the interface and exhaled deeply. It was time to decide, face the next trial head-on or return to Earth. Meanwhile, elsewhere, on someone's phone, a recruitment ad appeared. Dangerous gate detected at Memorial Square of the Great Catastrophe, seeking 1 tank and 1 healer of rank D or higher. Hunters gathered, full. Current members, none. The player scowled at the screen. Why can't I find any teammates? This is ridiculous. Suddenly a shadow appeared before him. He snapped his head up, startled. Someone was standing there. Out of nowhere, 3 strangers appeared. The fat one in front sneered. Still looking for teammates? Why don't you just hand that entry pass over to us? His eyes glinted with greed. He warned that if the man didn't enter the gate in time, the pass would be revoked anyway. Then he smirked. Why not just give us the cash right now instead? The hunter clenched his jaw, his expression soured. Him again, always such a damn nuisance, he muttered. I told you already, I'm not giving it up. But before he could finish, the fat man cut him off with a snarl. You idiot, do you know why no one's invited you into a party yet? Look around. Hunters everywhere, but not a single invite for you. The man froze, his chest tightened. The fat hunter jabbed a finger at him, eyes full of scorn. Let me spell it out. You're trash, an E-rank piece of garbage. Who the hell would want dead weight like you on their team? His lackeys burst into laughter, hurling insults one after another, mocking him without mercy. But then, a new voice cut through the noise, calm, steady, confident. Does your team have an open slot? Everyone turned. Walking up was Han Seongjun. He raised his hunter ID, his voice firm. I'm a C-rank hunter. Does that qualify me? The crowd went silent. Even the fat man blinked in shock. Then he quickly recovered, forcing a laugh. Of course it does, brother. He clapped Seongjun on the shoulder, but instead of respect, his tone turned mocking. But hey, are you blind? Can't you see everyone's been waiting long enough already? Seongjun's lips curled into a smirk. His reply was sharp as a blade. If you're so impatient, why didn't you join Lee Ji-Eun's team instead? The fat man's face twisted with rage. What did you just say to me? You wanna die? But before his fury could explode, Seongjun released a surge of mana. The air itself trembled. The fat man staggered back, eyes wide. This aura, he's a C-rank too. His own underlings cheered, misunderstanding the situation. That's our boss for you. Even his presence is overwhelming. But the fat hunter knew the truth. It wasn't him. It was Seongjun. Cornered and humiliated, he scrambled for an excuse. HMPH, the association will be here any minute. I'll let you off for now. Consider yourself lucky. And just like that, he slunk away, his lackeys trailing behind in confusion. The remaining hunter scratched his head, embarrassed. Man, it's barely even started and already. Seongjun turned to him. Hunter Lee Ji-Eun, no one's going to join this party now. Why don't the two of us just head in directly? Ji-Eun's eyes widened. Wait, you mean just us? Only 2 people. But in the end, he followed. Together, they stepped through the shimmering gate into the unknown. Inside, the air was heavy, the dungeon dark and cold. Ji-Eun whispered, astonished. I can't believe we're really inside, yet anxiety clouded his face. Seongjun noticed. Don't worry, these are just D-rank monsters, I can handle them. But that only deepened Ji-Eun's shock. Han Seongjun, this is your first dungeon, isn't it? Seongjun thought for a moment, then nodded. Yes, the tower isn't a dungeon. Ji-Eun grew serious. Then allow me to be frank, this is life and death, we can't afford mistakes. Between E-rank and C-rank hunters, which do you think die more often? Seongjun stayed silent. Ji-Eun answered himself, his tone grave. It's not the weaklings who die the most, it's the C-ranks. E-ranks know they're fragile, so they tread carefully, but C-ranks, too confident, overconfidence kills. He met Seongjun's eyes. Dungeons are far more dangerous than you think, and now, without a tank or a healer, your arrogance worries me more than the monsters do. Seongjun paused, then nodded. You're right. Ji-Eun bowed slightly. Then let me lead. I may be only E-rank, but I have dungeon experience for our safety. For a moment, Seongjun hesitated. He wanted to lead, but he gave in. Fine, you lead. Ji-Eun bowed deeply, relieved. Thank you, this is for both our lives. The two pressed forward. Suddenly, a hulking lizardman warrior emerged from the shadows, weapon gleaming under the dim light. Ji-Yun's face paled. This isn't good. They're skilled with weapons and have diverse abilities. I'll distract it while its attention on me strike its weak point. Sword trembling in hand, he charged forward with a battle cry. He slashed the air, far short of the monster. Again and again, his blade cut nothing but empty space. The lizardman tilted its head, confused. From behind, Seongjun frowned. Don't tell me they're just staring each other down. Annoyance prickled. I only have 3 days on Earth. I can't waste time on this clown show. He stepped forward. I'll handle it. Ji-Yun panicked. Wait, it's too dangerous. But Seongjun was already gone, activating instant acceleration. In a flash, he crossed the distance, blade slicing clean through the lizardman before it even had time to react. The beast collapsed lifeless. Ji-Yun stood frozen, mouth agape. That speed, that strike. Seongjun sheathed his blade, calm as ever. Apologies for stepping in, I was in a hurry. Ji-Yun stammered, still shaken. No, I understand. But Seongjun didn't stop there. From now on, I'll be leading this team. Before Ji-Yun could even reply, a pack of lizard men poured from the depths of the cavern, snarling. Seongjun dashed forward, tearing through them like a storm. His blade flashed, his movements sharp and fluid, each monster falling before they could touch him. Ji-Yun watched in awe, whispering to himself, This is a massacre. Am I witnessing the birth of a super rookie? One lizardman lunged at Seongjun. He sidestepped effortlessly, letting it slam into its own ally. His counterstrike was merciless. Within moments, the cave floor was littered with corpses. Seongjun drove his blade into the last lizardman's chest, extracting a glowing green mana core from its heart. The system chimed. D-rank mana core valuable for smithing or alchemy. Without hesitation, he tossed it into Ji-Yun's already bulging pack. The E-rank lowered his head. I'm sorry, all I can do is carry loot for you. But before Seongjun could reply, a blur shot out from the shadows, another lizardman faster than the rest. Seongjun tilted his head slightly, letting the attack graze past. In one fluid motion, he countered, his sword strike so powerful it launched the monster skyward, smashing it into the cavern's ceiling. The ground shook, dust rained down from above. Ji-Yun's eyes widened in disbelief. That power shook the entire dungeon. He could only stare. The battlefield around him was silent, but inside his chest, his heart pounded louder than ever. The battlefield was littered with blood and broken corpses. Seongjun wiped the lizard's gore off his hand and spoke calmly. Save your words for later. If we lose focus, we'll die here. Ji-Yun quickly apologized, but his voice still trembled with awe. Seongjun gave a faint smile. Don't worry, I'll protect you. Then, under his breath, a different thought. Now's the chance. While I yawn, I can absorb their souls. He feigned a yawn, and in that instant, streams of souls poured into him. His mastery over D-rank monsters had already peaked. Even so, he sighed. So even grinding these is useless now. But before he could dwell on it, a massive boss gate appeared. Ji-Yun's eyes widened. Just the two of us, and we've already reached the boss chamber. Seongjun studied the ominous portal. So this is the boss room, didn't expect to face one this soon. Ji-Yun's excitement overflowed. Most hunters would call clearing half a dungeon a success, but this kid, he could clear the entire thing alone. He stared at Seongjun's back, admiration blazing in his eyes. Then Seongjun turned. I'm going in, what about you? Ji-Yun clenched his fists. Of course I'm coming, no need to rest. Seongjun nodded. Then let's go. The gates swallowed them whole. Inside, the ground shook beneath the colossal form of the lizardman king. Its scales bristled with spikes, eyes burning with hatred. Ji-Yun faltered. Seongjun, do you have a plan? Seongjun didn't answer. His eyes never left the monster. Stay here. Wait, what? You don't even have a plan. The boss lunged, its massive blade cutting the air. But Seongjun leapt, narrowly avoiding the strike. Too fast for a body that size, its speed is unnatural. His expression hardened. In a blink, Seongjun vanished, reappearing behind the monster, blade aimed for its neck. But the beast didn't even need to turn. Its tail whipped like a steel whip, smashing him into rubble. Han Xiangjun, Zhiyuan screamed. For a moment silence, then rocks shattered as Xiangjun pushed free. The system chimed coldly. Soul absorbed, user has taken damage. He stepped forward, aura flaring, eyes burning with fury. Good, finally something worth testing my skills against. His grin widened, twisted with excitement. Zhiyuan's knees buckled with relief. I thought you were dead. The Lizardman King snarled, releasing a crushing aura. Energy swirled around it as skills activated. Skill slow, all actions reduced by 25%. Skill power surge, opponent's mana exceeds threshold. Effect nullified. The beast froze. Impossible, my magic doesn't work. Xiangjun smirked. A custom skill fusion, seems it works better than I thought. The boss grew wary, muscles tensing. Then Zhiyuan collapsed. My body, I can't move. His voice broke, panic filling his eyes. Xiangjun, help me. The boss seized its chance, charging toward the helpless hunter. Your enemy is me, Xiangjun roared, leaping high to intercept. But the distance was too great, his heart clenched. Damn it, I'm too far. The beast's blade rose, ready to end Zhiyuan. And then, Xiangjun's eyes flashed. Summon undead army. Skeletal warriors erupted from the ground, swarming the boss. Their bones cracked under its strikes, but they bought a single heartbeat of time. Enough. Xiangjun blurred forward, blade singing. In one relentless storm of cuts, he dismembered the Lizardman King where it stood. The monster howled, body torn apart. The system's voice followed. Dungeon boss, Lizardman King, defeated. Next boss will spawn in 14 days. Stats increased. Strength +1, agility +1, endurance +1, strength +4, endurance +5. Skill absorbed, Mystic ILV 0. Grants vision of invisible attacks. Zhiyuan gasped, trembling. He saved me, he really. Xiangjun sheathed his sword calm. You're safe. Elsewhere. A man yawned lazily. 3 gates open at once and nothing interesting, boring. His subordinates confirmed. Yes, sir, no incidents. The man sneered. Always the raid team who gets the credit. If we cleared a gate in one go, our squad would finally get bonuses, if only we had an A-rank hunter. Just then a gate shimmered, 2 hunters emerged. The vanguard from gate 3 has returned, a subordinate shouted. The man blinked. Already, no, impossible, 2 hunters cleared a dungeon. But then the gate color shifted, turning gray, proof that the boss had fallen. He rushed forward, eyes wide. You really cleared the boss. Xiangjun frowned. Who are you? The man straightened, introducing himself. Shin Guqin, captain of the Hunter Association's gate management team. Forgive my rudeness. Zhiyuan asked bluntly, are you here to buy the dungeon rights? Shin's face lit up. Yes, exactly. But then he froze as Zhiyuan revealed the truth. Han Xiangjun cleared the dungeon alone. Shin's jaw dropped. One man, then he must be A-rank. Xiangjun shook his head, voice steady. No, I'm C-rank. That detail doesn't matter. Let's talk business. How much will you pay for the gate's ownership? His eyes sharpened. Revealing his origins from the Tower of Trials would only bring trouble. Best to keep it buried. Guqin finally spoke after a long pause. If you want the truth, the management team is offering 1.2 billion won. The moment those words dropped, Xiangjun's eyes widened. 1.2 billion. Meanwhile, in another part of the city, a heavy stack of documents slammed down on a desk. Phew, I'm exhausted. That was Li Ha-dan, the guild leader. Since returning from the tower, she hadn't had a single day of rest. Just endless paperwork, endless meetings. Suddenly, her phone buzzed. Who could be calling me at this hour? She muttered, but when she glanced at the screen, her eyes widened. Huh. Something tugged at her attention. She turned, staring at the sign behind her. Management Division of the Tower Challengers, Captain Li Ha-dan. She thought to herself, this is exactly what the council needs, a fresh spark of life. No wonder the higher-ups have made such a big move. But the reality was harsher. Tracking down hidden challengers had proven far more difficult than she imagined. She sighed. I can't even recruit 10 proper people, and the ones I do find, they all choose the tower's easy mode. Her shoulders slumped. There's no way the higher-ups will be satisfied with this. I wonder, what's that man doing right now? Her gaze shifted to the city outside the glass window. One name filled her mind. A man strong enough to clear the fourth floor entirely on his own, Han Seongjun. I should have invited him back then. She pressed a hand against the glass, regret heavy in her chest. Then, ring, her phone lit up again, cutting her thoughts. She looked at the screen and froze. What? A new message appeared, from none other than Han Seongjun. Captain Lee Ha-don, since you've returned, would you be willing to meet? At that very moment, Seongjun was staring at his bank account balance. 1,290,1,600,000. 1. He blinked. Almost 1.3 billion, this feels like a dream. A grin spread across his face. Incredible, maybe I should buy a house. Just then, the cafe doorbell jingled. Lee Ha-don hurried in, scanning the room. She was clearly anxious, her eyes searching until... Captain Lee, over here. Seongjun raised a hand. She spotted him and rushed over, forcing a smile. Ah, Seongjun. She looked a little tired, as if she'd run straight here. He studied her appearance, surprised. She really came running. Do you have some time? But before he could finish, she dropped into the seat across from him, her sharp eyes filled with frustration. Han Seongjun, do you know how long I waited for your reply? You didn't even answer my messages. He flinched, scratching his cheek awkwardly. Ah, I'm sorry. Honestly, I'm not good with phones. I must have missed it. Her stern look softened. Fine, then buy me a coffee and a slice of tiramisu. He blinked, then laughed. Of course. Moments later, her order arrived. She leaned forward, curiosity in her eyes. So, you've stopped climbing the tower? Not yet, he answered calmly. Actually, that's why I contacted you. I need to ask something. She tilted her head. I want to join a guild, he said bluntly, but with conditions. 1, I can refuse summons whenever I want. 2, no interference with my tower raids. 3, I can use the guild's dungeons freely. He looked at her seriously. Do you know any guild that would accept this? She fell silent, her expression unreadable. He sighed inwardly. Did I go too far? Then she spoke. Seongjun, those demands are impossible. From the guild's perspective, they'd gain nothing from you. I see. His voice was flat, but disappointment flickered in his eyes. Suddenly, she grabbed his hand. He looked up, startled. Lee Ha-don rose from her seat, gripping his hand tightly. Her voice was firm, her gaze unshakable. Then join my guild, the Iron Shield Guild. I'll make your impossible conditions possible. Hours later, Seongjun was no longer in the cafe. He lay on the roof of a bus, staring at the city sky, replaying her words in his head. A solo C-rank dungeon raid, that's her requirement. If he succeeded, the higher-ups would have no choice but to accept his demands. He clenched his fist. Then I'll do it. Pushing himself up, he crouched low, then launched forward like a missile. The sheer speed of his sprint sent a violent shockwave ripping through the streets, scattering pedestrians in confusion. They didn't even realize what had passed them by. Meanwhile, at a hidden cave, 2 guards stood watch over a mysterious gate. Captain Lee Ha-don approached. I'd like to register this dungeon raid, 1 hour from now. The guards scrambled, writing her details down. Oh, you're Captain Lee Ha-don of the Iron Shield Guild. Please wait inside the tent. But before she could even sit, whoosh, a gale ripped through the camp. Seongjun appeared like a blur, stopping in front of her. Oh, Captain, you're here. The shockwave of his arrival blew tents and furniture into the air, even knocking the guards off their feet. He froze. Ah, sorry, guess I ran too fast. The guards stared at him in disbelief. Is he even human? Ha-don composed herself. You're early, Seongjun. He shrugged. I had nothing else to do. She pointed toward the gate. The paperwork's done. We can start whenever you're ready. He smiled faintly. Then let's begin now. Together, they stepped into the portal. They emerged in a rice field. What, the rice paddies? Seongjun frowned. If things get dangerous, signal me immediately, he told her. But she shook her head. I'll be fine. My guild gave me this, the Empress's necklace. It creates a weak barrier and it can even turn me invisible. If monsters notice me, I can hide. He nodded. Good, that way I can fight without holding back. The system pinged, spirit eyes activated. Purple energy surged across his vision. This, the power I absorbed from the God King. Suddenly, 3 invisible presences closed in. He grinned. I can sense them, so that's spirit eyes. The monsters pounced, but he was faster, leaping high into the air. Their forms became visible, fangs, claws, venom dripping from their maws. Ha-Dan gasped. Poisoned beasts in a C-rank dungeon. This is an irregularity. Seongjun, be careful. But while she panicked, he didn't flinch. His fists and blades moved like lightning, ripping through the creatures before they even knew what hit them. In seconds, all 3 were down. Blood splattered the fields. Seongjun landed softly, calm as ever. Ha-Dan was stunned. Impossible. And that was only the beginning. Because from the depths of the earth, more monsters erupted, giant reptilian beasts flooding the rice fields. But Seongjun stood tall, fists clenched, eyes blazing. With every strike, every kick, every slash, he tore them apart, alone against an army. Seongjun locked in, every nerve on edge, pouring his full strength into the fight. His long blade glowed with a dazzling magical light as he unleashed masterful techniques. But suddenly, he froze for a brief moment, a flicker of confusion crossing his face. Only then did he remember. He still had lightning flash in his arsenal. And that hesitation nearly cost him. From the shadows, the enraged Dragon King charged forward, its jagged fangs bared, blasting toward him like a living missile. The monster roared so loud it rattled the cavern walls. But Seongjun had already read its movements, dodging with ease. Without a trace of fear, he grabbed the beast by its tail. And then, with an inhuman strength that defied logic, he lifted the massive creature high into the air and smashed it down with an earth-shattering crash. The cave trembled, dust erupted, and there he stood, Seongjun radiating a commanding aura, satisfaction written across his face. Area's clear, he called out casually, waving to Ha-Dan. You can come over now. Ha-Dan's eyes widened in disbelief. One man taking down a dungeon boss in less than an hour. And not just any dungeon, this was an irregular dungeon. The toxic death lick inside was no joke. It normally required a full C-rank party to handle. Yet here he was, dismantling it alone as if it were nothing. Her shock only deepened. Han Seongjun wasn't just strong, he was still growing, and his growth was terrifying. Just then, the system flared to life. All souls consumed, attributes increased. Strength +4, agility +3, endurance +4, mana +6, vitality +7. Seongjun smirked. If bosses like this are all I have to deal with, then I've got nothing to worry about. Without hesitation, he marched toward the glowing red gate. The cavern around them grew darker, the howling wind echoing like whispers from the void. Ha-Dan's instincts screamed at her. Something's not right. The aura of these monsters, it's too strong. Her warning came too late. A devastating surge of magic plummeted from above, nearly crushing them both. As the blinding energy tore downward, a hulking figure emerged from the shadows. Its colossal fist launched like a cannonball straight at Ha-Dan. Watch out, Seongjun roared. At the last second, he dashed in, wrapping her in his arms and pulling her clear. The monster slammed into the stone, furious, its predatory eyes locking onto them. Ha-Dan's breath caught. Her savior's face was inches from hers. She couldn't even speak. The beast howled in rage, charging mana into its maw, and unleashed a blinding blast. Seongjun, behind you, Ha-Dan screamed. The explosion ripped through the cavern. Seongjun leapt into the air with Ha-Dan still in his arms, landing lightly on a branch above the chaos. She flushed, still reeling from the closeness, but his expression turned deadly serious. The situation's too dangerous. I had no choice but to move you without asking first. No, I owe you my life, she whispered. He nodded, eyes narrowing. Then let me handle this. She offered, should I use a support skill? Not today, he cut her off firmly. Save it, this one's mine. Sword in hand, Seongjun descended. The dungeon boss spotted him instantly, its murderous gaze locking on. Mana surged, his eyes sharp as steel. The system chimed, skill acceleration activated, C-rank speed boots effect enhanced. The ground shook as the monster stomped, preparing its attack. Another alert, skill grace of the wind activated, movement speed +70%, Progress stacked, 7-7. The boss charged its attack, jaw glowing with condensed mana. Seongjun blurred forward, his speed beyond comprehension. At the last moment, he shifted direction, vanishing from its line of fire. The monster bellowed, stunned, too slow to react. A flash of steel, a storm of slashes. In the blink of an eye, the giant beast was torn apart, its body exploding into scattered chunks across the cavern floor. The system confirmed, dungeon boss eliminated, blue flame demon of destruction. Dungeon will collapse in 3 hours. Ha-Dan stared at the carnage in horror. Now I'm not sure who's the real monster here, she whispered. Seongjun glanced back at the shredded remains and muttered, maybe I went a little overboard. They exited before the gate closed. Still shaken, Ha-Dan admitted, you've passed the test. From now on, you'll be granted access to the Silver Guild's private dungeons. We'd be fools to let someone like you slip away. Surprised, Seongjun smiled. That's good to hear. But she wasn't finished. Her cheeks flushed as she turned. When you are summoned to the Tower of Trials, the difficulty path you chose won't matter much. The tower adapts. Those who excel in easy trials will face harsher challenges later. Those who stumble in hard ones may be eased. With growth like yours, even the top 50 rank may not protect you. The tower could throw you into something lethal. Her voice softened. So please be careful. I want to witness your growth step by step. The words struck him. Seongjun looked away, face heating with an emotion he rarely showed. That night in another city, he sat alone on a rooftop, calmly biting into an apple. The system message appeared. You will return to the Tower of Trials in 5 minutes. He smirked. Busy last 3 days, but worth it. My stats skyrocketed and I've gained confidence. Then came the flash of light. Time expired, returning now. A radiant column descended, engulfing him. Seongjun looked up, grinning. Finally, I'm going back to the tower. In the next instant, he was back in his familiar chamber, standing tall. The system spoke again. Do you accept the 8th overall experiment? Without hesitation, he pressed yes. Choose your path, combat raid. He tapped combat. The system confirmed. Challenger Han Seongjun has chosen combat. Path cannot be changed. But then another message appeared. His eyes widened. Challenger Han Seongjun possesses the pioneer trait. A direct dialogue with a combat administrator will begin. Searching for available administrator. Seongjun froze. An administrator. Search complete. Preparing direct dialogue with the iron-blooded tyrant. The world warped. In a flash, he was transported into a frozen wasteland, a forest of swords embedded in snow. Shivering, he muttered, so this is the iron-blooded world. His eyes glowed purple as he activated his Truthseer's gaze. The system confirmed, skill activated. Information displayed, the iron-blooded realm, personal domain of the iron-blooded tyrant. No outsiders permitted. Seongjun grinned, excitement sparking in his eyes. He had no idea what awaited him in this frozen realm, but his blood surged with anticipation. So, the tower still has secrets like this. But his curiosity came at a price. The system message pulsed before him. The iron-blooded tyrant feels insulted by your intrusion. He froze, shock crept over his face. Wait, a manager can actually express emotions through the system. Before he could dwell on it, the ground behind him rumbled. A buried sword began to glow crimson, fire spilling from the snow as it slowly pulled itself free. Another message, cease your pointless actions, follow the sword. The flaming blade drifted forward, leading the way. The system vanished, leaving Seongjun standing in silence, torn between doubt and trust. Still, he followed. Step by step through the falling snow, the world around him faded into a blinding white. The sword disappeared. And there, at the end of the barren landscape, stood a massive log cabin, blanketed in impossible layers of snow. Cautiously, he entered. Warm candlelight flickered from the ceiling. A fire crackled in the hearth, and sitting casually in a chair beside it was a girl. Armor gleaming, lavender hair glowing faintly in the firelight, crimson eyes burning with pride. She crossed her legs, leaned back, and smirked. You finally made it. Welcome, pioneer. Seongjun's breath caught. Beautiful as she was, her aura was suffocating. So this is the iron-blooded tyrant. One moment she was across the room. The next, she stood right in front of him, her ruby eyes locked on his face. Too fast, he hadn't even seen her move. She plucked a bottle of liquor from the shelf beside him, casually remarking, "I've always wondered what kind of monster you really are. On the surface, you challengers look so ordinary." Seongjun frowned. "You know me." She uncorked the bottle, pouring golden liquid into a glass. "Of course, your battle left quite an impression." He pressed, "So you've been watching my trials?" "No," she swirled her drink, eyes glinting. "Managers only know the results. Below the 8th floor we can't observe directly." His chest tightened. "Even a manager can't see." She sipped, then set the glass down. "We are not gods, Seongjun. We don't rule the tower, we serve it. As long as I remain its subordinate, I cannot harm you." Her tone was calm, but the weight of her words hit him hard. "So even managers are prisoners of the tower." She leaned closer. "This meeting is your privilege as a pioneer. You may ask anything without using question tickets." Seongjun seized the chance. "Then answer me this. On the 5th floor, I was nearly killed by another challenger from a different world. Why was he in my dungeon? Can challengers invade floors at will?" Her lips curved into a sly smile. "Nothing special. When you breach into another world's floor, you gain greater rewards. Those opponents you faced, many have survived here for 15 years. Defeat one, and the prize is immense." She twirled her glass again, gaze softening. "And one day, the towers of all worlds will merge." The word stunned him. "Merge, what do you mean?" "Exactly what it sounds like." Her voice hardened. "After the 20th floor, you'll face trials interwoven with other worlds. Your enemies won't just be monsters, they'll be challengers like you, and every one of them is preparing to crush future rivals." Silence, the fire popped and crackled. Finally, Seongjun asked the question that haunted him. "Then tell me, what is the Tower of Trials?" Her crimson gaze dropped, her voice low. "I want to know that myself." The answer floored him, a manager who didn't even know. Her words spilled like confession. "We managers were once challengers too. Those who died beyond the 14th floor are granted rebirth as guardians of the tower." For a moment her fiery eyes softened, haunted by memory. She recalled blood-soaked battlefields, her body broken, drowned in fire and corpses. "I once dreamed of reaching the peak," she whispered. "But I failed, all of us failed." Seongjun clenched his fists. "So the first managers were challengers just like me." He lowered his head, voice heavy. "All I've ever wanted is to know the truth at the summit." The air shifted instantly. The iron-blooded tyrant's expression twisted. She stormed forward, slamming him by the throat against the wooden door. "The summit is not something you dare speak of." Her grip tightened, suffocating. The warmth from earlier vanished. What remained was a monster cloaked in killing intent. But Seongjun didn't panic. He stared straight into her eyes, calm and unshaken. She sneered, not afraid, not surprised. His answer was steady. "You said this conversation benefits us both, and I don't feel any killing intent from you at all." He slammed his fist against the door. Wood splintered, snow blasting inside. The door shattered. "I won't just let you attack me." The cold wind howled. Snowflakes swirled around him as he stepped back into the frozen night, sword gleaming at his side. His gaze sharpened, his stance firmed. "If you want to fight, I'll be ready." Seongjun stood his ground, his eyes locked on the so-called manager before him. She looked almost stunned. For the first time, someone had dared to tear apart a manager's domain right in front of her. And then she laughed, a sharp, echoing laugh that rolled across the frozen land. "This is the first time I've seen anyone destroy a manager's home," she said, eyes narrowing with excitement. "But you've convinced me, challenger." Her gaze sharpened, cutting through him like a blade. "Han Seongjun, I want to form a master-disciple contract with you." The words froze him. What? A manager wanting him as her disciple? Was this some kind of test? Or had she already set her sights on him? Before he could even process it, the system flared to life. "You have entered the hall of the 8th floor." In an instant, the world around him shifted. The frozen cabin vanished, and he landed hard on something soft, a luxurious bed. Still disoriented, he muttered, "Exclusive shop." A glowing blue panel appeared. "Exclusive shop of the Covenant holder. Items 1,000 plus. Categories, skills, abilities, covenant relics of the iron-blooded tyrant. He froze. Wait, I really signed a pact with her. The memory of that glowing contract paper flashed in his mind. The manager smiling slyly, whispering she couldn't afford to let a talent like his slip away. The system chimed again. Do you accept the sponsorship contract? Without hesitation, he hit accept. Contract established. Exclusive Covenant shop unlocked. All stats +1 thanks to the Covenant's blessing. Her voice echoed faintly as she faded away. Interesting, very interesting, Pioneer. We'll meet again. The shop expanded before his eyes, revealing 3 selectable abilities. Heart like stone, see? Unshakable judgment in any situation. Emotional states like rage or doubt are halved. Team coordination boosted. Cost 1,000 points. Iron-blooded soul A, born of a merciless king. Weapon mastery 2.32x. New weapons start at 10% mastery. Cost 6,500 points. Frozen Emperor D+, power of the northern ruler. Temporary stat boosts in icy environments. Immunity to cold. Cost 800 points. He stared, then muttered, so these abilities have ranks too, but what's different about the exclusive power I gained back there? After weighing the options, he chose. Heart like stone acquired. 1,000 points deducted. A calm clarity washed over him. No more hesitation, no more reckless bursts of rage. His mind would remain sharp no matter what came next. This was the right call, he thought. Without wasting time, he stepped into the glowing portal to the next trial. 8th floor challenge, begin. Difficulty, hard. Theme, destruction. Objective, defeat the undead army. Failure condition, death. Reward, all stats +2. The world twisted again, and suddenly he was standing atop a crimson cliff, overlooking a battlefield drenched in death. Below, waves of skeletal warriors clawed at the earth, shrieking as if hell itself had vomited them out. His breath caught, that many. An endless sea of undead surged toward him, armed with rusted blades, spears, anything they could wield. Their hollow eyes glowed with murderous red light. He clenched his fists. So that's their plan, overwhelm me with numbers. Then with a sharp exhale, he leapt from the cliff. The ground shattered as he landed, exploding hundreds of skeletons into bone dust. But even as their fragments scattered, thousands more pressed in from every direction. Blow after blow, he tore them apart, but his eyes narrowed with disappointment. Only 0.08% mastery increase. After all that, pathetic. Bones piled high around him. The battle dragged on like an endless nightmare. Even he started to feel the weight of exhaustion creeping in. And then the air trembled. A deep, booming voice shook the battlefield. Who dares to desecrate my sacred land? Who dares challenge me? The skeletal army froze, motionless under the weight of their commander's fury. Seongjun's eyes snapped toward the sound. A castle loomed in the distance, the true source of this nightmare. Enough wasting time with these pawns, he growled. Activating his skill, he extended his hand. Skill activated, command the dead. Shattered skeletons rose again, their hollow sockets now glowing under his control. They turned on their former brethren, smashing skulls and tearing bones apart. He couldn't help but smirk, so even skeletons can be useful. Leaving his new minions behind to wreak havoc, he soared into the sky. His boots flared with power. Grace of the Wind activated, movement speed +60%. Current mastery 6-7. Enhanced by his swift stride boots, his body cut through the air like a storm. The undead could only gape helplessly as their prey streaked overhead, faster than their eyes could follow. Ahead, a colossal dark castle loomed, the den of the necromancer king who ruled this floor. And Seongjun was already on his way to bring the battle straight to the source. Seongjun's eyes locked on the massive dark fortress in the distance. There it is, that voice he heard earlier, the one dripping with arrogance. It had to belong to the master of this place. And sure enough, the figure waiting inside wore a crown, flames of ghostly blue fire raging around his skeletal frame. His bony hands clutched a sinister book that pulsed with dark power. Seongjun landed before him with a smirk. Found you. The skeletal lord's sockets blazed with fury. A lowly human, dares trespass in my sacred land. The book snapped open. A thunderous roar shook the ground as crimson energy surged from its pages, tearing open a portal. From that rift, colossal monsters emerged, each one bellowing with such intensity it could shatter an ordinary man's spirit. But Seongjun only raised an eyebrow. Outwardly, he feigned shock with a casual "oh," but inside his thoughts were razor-sharp. These things are nothing, barely stronger than those golem cats. The undead lord burst out laughing. "Ha, now you understand whose domain you've entered." Seongjun's voice cut through his laughter like a blade. "Tell me, is that really the best you can summon? Can't you bring out something stronger?" The lord froze, stunned. No one had ever dismissed his creations so casually. "What?" he roared. But Seongjun had already drawn his blade, his other hand activating the system. His voice was steady, almost mocking. "If this is all you've got, then I'll be disappointed." The order was given. The giants charged, each step shaking the earth, crushing boulders beneath their weight. The skeletal lord screamed. Rip his arrogant tongue out. Too late. Skill activated, instant acceleration. To the eye, Seongjun didn't even move. But in that same heartbeat, heads began tumbling. One by one, the towering monsters collapsed, their bodies crumbling before the undead lord even realized what had happened. And then Seongjun was already at his back, blade raised. "What?" the skeletal lord gasped, spinning around. A single slash, bone shattered, fleshless limbs torn apart, debris exploded across the ground. Mastery plus 1-2%. Mastery plus 1-2%. Seongjun's eyes lit up. Perfect. Hunting these undead really is boosting my mastery fast. The one-sprowed lord collapsed, half his body ruined, crawling backwards in panic. What are you? Some kind of monster wearing a human-esque skin." Seongjun's blade hovered above him, his cold voice. "This ends now." But just before the final strike, something else caught his attention, the book. The cursed tome that had summoned those titans. With this, he could summon any number of monsters. I could use this, play with it, farm my mastery even faster. A wicked grin spread across his face. Why not make him my tool? He tossed the book back onto the trembling lord's chest. "Can you summon more skeleton guards?" The undead lord blinked, confused. Why are you asking?" Seongjun stepped closer, blade gleaming. "If you can't, then I'll just finish you here." Panic-stricken, the lord stammered. "Wait. Yes, I can. When one dies, I can resummon it within minutes." "Good," Seongjun said coldly. "Then summon one now." Desperate to cling to life, the skeletal lord obeyed. Pages fluttered, crimson light flared, and another hulking guardian emerged. It lunged forward, only to be cut down instantly, its corpse collapsing in a heap. "Again," Seongjun ordered. The lord's sockets widened. How long must I do this?" "Until I say stop," Seongjun sneered, kicking him to the ground. The skeletal lord nearly wept as he complied, summoning more and more soldiers, only to watch them fall to pieces within seconds. Then came the golem, a massive stone giant, fists glowing with golden rage. It roared and swung down with a strike that could shatter mountains. Seongjun didn't flinch. He raised a single hand, eyes glowing ocean blue, his face unreadable. The impact shook the world, yet he didn't move an inch. In the next instant, he surged forward, dagger flashing. A single arc of steel, and the golem's head was severed cleanly from its shoulders. Mastery plus 1-2%. Mastery plus 1-2%. Unique skill, Soul Summoning has reached 100%. Soul Summoning has advanced to rank C. Blue light burst from Seongjun's chest, flooding his body with newfound strength. For the first time, even he was shocked. Already rank C. Before he could savor it, the skeletal lord spat curses, his body cracking under the strain of his own summoning. You're no human, you're a mad beast. Even demons would fear you. I curse you even in death." But his words faltered, flames guttered out, his mask cracked apart. Seongjun walked forward slowly, dagger raised, his red eyes gleaming with cold finality. "I plan to use you longer, but too bad." "Disgusting human," the lord hissed weakly. Before he could finish, Seongjun's blade traced a merciless arc, and the crowned skull rolled across the ground. After dealing with the dry old boss, the system relentlessly flashed notifications of his level up. Reward acquired, mortal surpasses demon, agility increased, soul absorbed, mastery increased by 17.4%. A crimson orb materialized in Han Sun-Jiyun's hand, the surrounding energy converging into that compact sphere. His expression remained cold, unreadable as ever. The system's voice echoed again, formal yet celebratory. Congratulations! You have completed Floor 8 of the tower. Rewards, all stats doubled. You have earned 30,000 points and 300 items for mission completion. Please proceed to the Grand Hall. Without warning, a massive door appeared out of nowhere in the void, and Han Sun-Jiyun stepped through into the Grand Hall of Floor 9. The system continued its announcements, signaling that the management was now observing the entirety of the challenge. Restrictions were lifted. C-class skills could be purchased in the skill shop. Han Sun-Jiyun allowed himself a faint smile, thinking privately, absorbing skills has become more than sufficient, and now mastery inheritance? This is ridiculous. But before he could dwell on the advantages, another skill caught his attention, the clear success rate of skill absorption displayed prominently. He knew Floor 9 wouldn't be as uneventful as the previous 8. Preparation was key. He raised his sword, examining it carefully. I'll need a new combat skill to replace my defensive one. He opened the skill shop, browsing through the immediately purchasable skills. Frustration crept in, few sword skills were usable. Pages turned, hope dwindled, until a bold idea struck him. If I can't find it, I'll create it myself. Without hesitation, he spent 25,000 points to purchase a basic swordsmanship E-rank. This skill enhanced fundamental sword knowledge and increased his equipped sword's cutting power by 1.5 times, though it would not stack with other weapon skills. Perfect! This skill can amplify all sword-related abilities. For a synthesis using the Hunter Authority, I need to understand compatibility. Best option, basic swordsmanship plus D-rank Hunter's Javelin. A mechanical voice pierced the silence. Synthesis material levels mismatched. The process will focus on Hunter's Javelin. Success rate, 75%. Proceed. Han Sun-Jiyun pressed accept without hesitation. A blinding golden light erupted and the system announced, skill synthesis successful. New skill created, Demon Hunter. Swordsmanship enhanced to track and destroy magical creatures. Basic sword knowledge amplified. Weapon attack power tripled. Additional effect, against non-human enemies, attack speed doubled. Han Sun-Jiyun's eyes sparkled with delight. Exactly what I wanted, a skill specialized for monsters. His dangerous grin betrayed his satisfaction, yet temptation whispered, should he synthesize the remaining skills? Like a gambler drawn to the thrill, he could not resist. He selected the following skills for fusion: Quick Recovery D-rank, Natural Paradox D-rank, Blood Loss Rebirth C-rank, Pain Resistance B-rank. The resulting power, Gray Blood S-rank. Another blinding golden light enveloped the dark hall. Gray blood was extraordinary, born from a mutated vampire's essence. Its effect, the user's regeneration scales with their tenacity. Physical damage recovery tripled. Pain reduced by 40% depending on the damage type. Han Sun-Jiyun's wide eyes betrayed his shock. He was itching to test it immediately, but the hall's healing aura blocked his trials. 100 points won't be much. He spent points to cancel the hall's healing effect. 50 points gone. The system warned, fatigue would accumulate and physical damage would no longer regenerate automatically. Satisfied, Han Sun-Jiyun raised his sword and sliced his wrist. Blood sprayed even onto his hand, the force evident in each stroke. Unwilling to stop at one, he struck several more times. Normally, this would have crippled him, but the superhuman recovery skill activated instantly. Green light engulfed his arm, restoring it completely. Incredible, even outside the hall, the regeneration is unbelievable. With both soul absorption and superhuman recovery, Han Sun-Jiyun felt untouchable. He inspected his attire, deciding it would last until it tore. Still my favorite. Curious about the forums, he checked for updates. Nothing interesting. Time was short. He stepped directly into the spatial gate, starting the next challenge. Floor 9 challenge theme, combat. Difficulty hard, duration 1 day. Objective, eliminate all monsters within the arena. Death or overtime equals failure. Reward, C-rank monster instinct. Penalty, death. While reviewing the mission board, a red exclamation mark startled him. The floor was suddenly dangerous. A challenger from the martial arts world had entered. His target had been defeated, but before understanding anything, Han Sun-Jiyun was teleported to a secret chamber. Before him stood a man atop a pile of slain monsters, clearly victorious. Han Sun-Jiyun's blue eyes lit up. He recognized the figure instantly. Before he could speak, the stranger did. Finally, you've arrived, the system flashed. Challenge target updated. The man continued. I am Beek Xiaohua, leader of the Martial Arts Alliance. Your mission, defeat me, the challenger from the martial arts world. Han Sun-Jiyun observed silently, thinking, a challenger from another world. Beek Xiaohua asked, what is your name? Han Sun-Jiyun furrowed his brow, confused. Why ask my name now? I've revealed my identity, he responded sternly. You've intruded into my challenge. Clearly you mean no good. Giving my name changes nothing. Beek Xiaohua frowned. Basic courtesy among warriors, your mindset is still narrow. Han Sun-Jiyun shook his head, exasperated. Why are challengers from other worlds always so weird? Beek Xiaohua raised his sword, exuding dark energy, expression unreadable. Words were unnecessary. He dashed forward at lightning speed, channeling skill into his blade. Instantaneously, the blade of 10,000 images struck. The elegant wind technique activated, movement speed increased by 30%, cumulative stacks 3-7. Han Sun-Jiyun's face remained calm, colder than before. He activated his newfound speed skill, blocking every strike, then retaliated with a powerful counterattack, shoving the blade of 10,000 images back with immense force. Beek Xiaohua, stunned by the strength, quickly composed himself, feigning admiration. Oh, a master here as well. I apologize for underestimating you. Han Sun-Jiyun snorted coldly. Stop pretending. You came to kill me for the reward. Cut the act makes me sick. Clearly, Beek Xiaohua was from a world unseen by them. Suddenly, his violet eyes opened, and he lifted his sword, unleashing a gust of wind that cleared the surrounding foul air. His blade gleamed among thick black bones. Calm but disdainful, he said. Farewell, unknown swordsman. Han Sun-Jiyun froze. Before he realized it, a dense wall of black bone enveloped him. The system warned. Opponent activated special sword light, blindness for 5 seconds. Beek Xiaohua swung, and Han Sun-Jiyun was caught off guard, raising both hands to defend. Special sword light toxin. Blindness will last 5 seconds. Panic surged through Han Sun-Jiyun as the system's warning flashed. His face betrayed pure shock, yet he gripped his greatsword tightly, readying for an attack. My vision gone, but I won't fail. Even blind, he swung toward the direction of the previous strike. Moments later, the system announced, blindness caused by special sword light toxin has ended. Han Sun-Jiyun pressed the assault, striking Beek Xiaohua repeatedly. The older warrior, unshaken, wielded his sword with one hand while the other rested behind his back, dodging each strike effortlessly. Gray blood, S-Rank, activated, Han Sun-Jiyun standing calm, letting the wounds on his neck heal. He narrowed his eyes, thinking, almost got red. That old man is sharp. Beek Xiaohua's voice cut through. How do you know? The system chimed. Instantaneous speed skill activated. Elegant wind technique activated. Total speed increased by 50%. Passive skill accumulation exceeds 7. Han Sun-Jiyun braced himself, one hand on the ground, the other gripping his sword, eyes sharp as daggers. He lunged forward. Beek Xiaohua remained still, listening carefully to the sounds around him. Their swords clashed in a flurry of sparks, perfectly balanced in skill and strength. Han Sun-Jiyun spun, launching a kick at Beek Xiaohua's legs. The old man leapt, but the kick still connected. Beek Xiaohua swung his blade at Han Sun-Jiyun's attacking leg, forcing him to retract and dodge mid-spin. Han Sun-Jiyun thrust his sword upward, only for Beek Xiaohua to catch his wrist. In a counter move, Han Sun-Jiyun kicked toward Beek Xiaohua's sword hand. Neither released their grip. Beek Xiaohua spoke calmly. Such black magic you wield, curious. Han Sun-Jiyun froze, thinking, damn, I've improved so much, yet our stats still seem matched. He twisted his wrist free, leaping up to aim his sword directly at Beek Xiaohua's face, eyes blazing with murderous intent. I won't hold back anymore, Beek Xiaohua warned, swinging his blade down. The system intervened. Due to the unique attribute of special sword light, you will be blinded for 5 seconds. Darkness swallowed Han Sun-Jiyun. Rage simmered beneath his breath, cursing silently. Yet his anti-magic skill reduced the blindness to 2.5 seconds. Divine Sight activated, revealing countless attacks in advance. Han Sun-Jiyun blocked strike after strike, thinking, insane, his attack speed is absurd. Suddenly, a horizontal slash surged at him. The system notified. Unique Hunter Chain skill activated. 10% physical damage will be absorbed. He threw all his strength into the block. One arm was severed. Pain resistance skill instantly kicked in. Staring at his severed hand, he thought, the Hunter Chain can't block everything. Blindness ended. Han Sunjun leaped back, evading Bixialwa's relentless assault. The impact of his landing tore up the ground. Blood still dripped from his hand, but he spun, leaping onto a rock to misdirect his opponent. Bixialwa listened intently, then smashed the rock with a violent strike. Han Sunjun narrowly avoided the debris, landing behind Bixialwa, beginning to heal his severed hand with gray blood. Bixialwa tilted his head. More black magic. I thought you were a true martial artist, but you rely on borrowed tricks. Han Sunjun clenched his fist, smirking. Hypocrite. Is that your own borrowed skill from the tower? Seizing an opening, Han Sunjun attacked from the right. Bixialwa blocked but scoffed. What is this? Do you want to die by borrowed skills? Memories flickered through the older man's mind. Countless floors, countless challengers from thousands of worlds, especially weak ones from Earth, never able to touch a hair on him. Normally, his unique sword attribute alone would finish the fight. Yet Han Sunjun thrust forward, forcing a narrow dodge. Bixialwa's ponytail came loose, anger flashing across his features. Relentless attacks rained from Han Sunjun. Each strike pushed the old man backward. Both bore numerous injuries, hair disheveled, faces cut. They paused briefly, Han Sunjun using gray blood to heal facial wounds. Bixialwa breathed heavily, gripping his sword, glaring with ferocity. The system's notifications flashed. Bikha Sword Master stunned by the young challenger. Northern Monster Administrator predicts imminent defeat. Night Dominator Administrator intrigued by young challenger. Dark Island Hero Administrator shocked by skill utilization. Bixialwa gritted his teeth, refusing to relent. He braced for total combat. Han Sunjun scoffed. You despise magic, yet you depend on these borrowed skills. The system enforced the floor's penalty. All stats reduced by 8%, some skills disabled. Bixialwa's anger boiled. Certain skills were forcibly nullified, unique sword light reactivated. Darkness enveloped Han Sunjun again. He activated Divine Sight. Bixialwa roared, Demon, I'll cut you down. Han Sunjun activated Triple Slash. Next 3 attacks will have enhanced skill effect. His fierce gaze locked onto Bixialwa. He leaped, intercepting the attack. The system confirmed. Blindness from unique sword light ended. Bloodied and battered, Han Sunjun crouched to catch his breath. Bixialwa stood behind him, sword dropped to the floor. One knee bent, exhausted, he staggered, a deep horizontal slash across his abdomen. Impossible, Bixialwa groaned. Blood poured from his wound. Han Sunjun struggled upright. Behind him, the old man had been cleaved in two, collapsing. The system flashed. Congratulations, you have completed Floor 9 of the Tower Challenge. Han Sunjun reached out, absorbing Bixialwa's soul. Soul absorbed, Challenger Bixialwa, stats increased by 27%. 27%, huh, not bad. System notification. Floor 9 completed, rewards and difficulty pending evaluation. Han Sunjun muttered, recalling similar delays from before, moments later. Evaluation complete. Rewards granted. 6th Sense skill created as a wish fulfillment reward. 35,000 points awarded. 1,000 SXP granted. You will be teleported to the main hall. Han Sunjun stared at the rewards flashing on the screen, contemplating. 6th Sense? Huh. Seems like it's a tier above the basic Monster Instinct skill. A spatial portal opened and he stepped forward. All right, let's take a closer look in the main hall. Approaching the gate, he eyed the information cautiously. The system displayed praise from the administrators. Bikha Sword Master was deeply impressed by your battle. Northern Monster Administrator went wild over your efforts. Night Dominator Administrator was satisfied with your performance. Dark Island Hero Administrator cheered your fight. Han Sunjun quietly read through the notifications. The system is updating. Administrators can now observe the challenge. He smirked. I've seen these notifications before, but still, it feels good to know most of them were moved by my fight. Recognition from them feels proud. The screen then displayed a caution from the Bloodsteel Tyrant. Do not be swayed by other administrators' admiration. Han Sunjun nodded subtly. A new message appeared. Bikha's sword master wanted additional authority within the exclusive contractor's shop. Shocked, Han Sun-jiun thought, "Wait, they want to grant me power, just like that." He read further. The Bloodsteel tyrant advised that accepting the authority would gain favor with the contractor. Can I really accept this? Han Sun-jiun hesitated. A thought flashed in his mind. If I get benefits from those who have completed the challenges, what's the gain for me? He asked quietly, will they contact me later? Bikha's sword master's smile appeared on screen, not just once, many times. The Bloodsteel tyrant commented, the granted benefits weren't extremely useful, so don't worry too much. Han Sun-jiun thought bitterly, they only give to get something back, fine, I won't hesitate. Touching the screen, he said, thank you. The system confirmed. Bikha's sword master authority has been added. Sword master's energy added to exclusive contractors' shop authority list. Han Sun-jiun replied, I understand, I'll make good use of it. Skeptically, he thought about the central zone. Can administrators really observe what happens here? Looking around silently, he coughed lightly. The system displayed, Contractor Authority Shop opened, summary of available authorities. Hesitant, Han Sun-jiun touched the screen. Information about the sword master's energy appeared. I can infuse magic into weapons and use sword energy. His eyes widened in amazement. This is called a normal ability, but it seems quite potent. He flipped to the next page. Oh, now I can view the second page too, the screen displayed. Authority type. Skeletal reconstruction. Bloodsteel sword. Hand of death. Han Sun-jiun chuckled. These skills are incredible. Then he frowned. But I only have 2,000 SXP. I need to purchase skeletal reconstruction and sword master's energy. Which one should I pick, or should I earn more SXP first? As his finger hovered, he thought of Baek Sialhwa, the formidable warrior he'd faced on floor 9. To survive like him, I must obtain these skills. He touched the screen decisively. Purchase sword master's energy 1000 SXP. A glowing sword materialized in his hands. Notification. Sword master's energy activated. Han Sun-jiun stepped forward, sword in hand. Though all three abilities use magic, this feels different. If the others are a torrent of magic into the sword, this feels like a gentle stream. System updates. 1 minute, 2% mana consumption. 2 minutes, 4% mana consumption. 3 minutes, 6% mana consumption. Han Sun-jiun muttered, every minute drains 2% more. In 50 minutes, my mana will be depleted. He deactivated sword master's energy. I need to manage my mana carefully. Pointing to the screen, he asked, and the sixth sense from floor 9. Studying the attributes, he said, so my senses are enhanced. If they reach their peak, the benefits must be immense. One hand ran through his hair, the other propping his chin. I hope someone can guide me in this new plaza. System notification. You have joined the floor 10 difficulty level community. Han Sun-jiun scrolled through countless comments. As expected, many discussions appear once I reach floor 10's main hall. Suddenly he froze. A comment read, a strange foreigner offered to trade authorities in the plaza. Authorities can be exchanged? Han Sun-jiun gasped, hand on sword, other scrolling furiously. I have to check this out myself. System confirmed. You have been teleported to floor 10 main hall. Two figures stepped out of the portal. Han Sun-jiun looked ahead, smiling. So this is the plaza. I'll gather as many benefits as possible before moving on. Hidden behind a tree, someone observed them. I think those guys are from Korea. Another replied, yeah, a D-rank Korean hunter. I've seen his profile, annoying. A woman stepped forward with a man behind her. The green trees and bushes flanked both sides. System warnings flashed. Mana consumption reached 100% using special skill. Terror effect, all skills reduced by 20%. Under the terror's light, body parts weakened. The man behind staggered, paralyzed. My body. A laughter echoed. 3 tall figures emerged. The man panicked. Stop, what are you doing? The leader licked his sharp sword. I'm wondering the same. Hey, Korean, from a kingdom of hunters, right? Han Sun-jiun's mind raced. I haven't even started the challenge, and they're already trying to rob me. One of the bandits knelt, sword before him. The woman gasped, how can you do this? Stop, or I'll report you. The leader smirked, teasing her. Oh, fine, then you replace it. Standing before his comrades, sword at the back of his neck, he threatened, "Leave all items and one of your friends can walk free." The woman stepped back, torn between anger and fear. "What are you talking about?" Han Sunjun, cloaked in black, casually passed by. The leader shouted to his companions. "Who is that guy?" Spotting Han Sunjun's back, he yelled. "Hey, the one in black." Han Sunjun tilted his head, removing his hood. Calmly, "You called me." The leader stepped forward. "Yes, you." Three bandits grinned menacingly. System updates. Destructive Force skill activated. Magic Shield skill activated. Magic block removed. 20% stat reduction lifted. Paralysis removed. Han Sunjun easily blocked their strikes. The leader gaped as his attacks had no effect. Han Sunjun drew his sword from storage. "You started this." He activated instant speed, moving like a gale. The girl raised her hands in panic. The three bandits staggered backward in shock. Han Sunjun streaked past each, striking with lethal precision. Suddenly, one of the bandits screamed in terror, "Thunder Ice Shield!" Two of them were sliced clean through the neck and stomach. Blood sprayed everywhere and their bodies collapsed to the ground. Han Sunjun didn't hesitate. He launched a powerful punch straight ahead. His fist struck the ice wall before him, shaking it violently. The onlookers, the bandit and the girl, gasped, unable to believe their eyes. The ice wall began cracking under the force of his strike. The bandit, trembling in fear, sank to the ground. Without pause, Han Sunjun slammed another punch. The ice wall shattered completely. The figure trapped inside flailed and screamed in horror. "Wait, I was wrong. Please, I beg you." But before a word could finish, Han Sunjun's sword sliced through his neck, blood gushing as the man fell dead. System notification. You have absorbed the soul of player Hong Mujin. You have absorbed the soul of player Lee Choi Min. You have absorbed the soul of player Namgung Hyuk. Mastery increased by 6.4%. Three lifeless bodies lay scattered on the open ground. Han Sunjun walked calmly to the two bandits he had faced earlier. The girl crossed her arms and sighed, I should have helped. The fight ended faster than I expected." He replied evenly, "It's fine, you can go now." She nodded with relief, smiling, "Thank you." Han Sunjun exhaled softly behind her. The young man hesitated before speaking. "Excuse me, are you a Jonggun?" Han Sunjun glanced coldly and said, "You could say that." Internally, he thought, "Well, I was in the top 10 once." The man's eyes lit up with excitement. "I understand. It's an honor to meet you. Because of you, I survived. Thank you so much." Han Sunjun thought to himself, "I helped him because anyone could face threats like this." He said aloud, "It's nothing. You can leave now." As the man turned, he paused, seemingly wanting to say something more. Han Sunjun raised an eyebrow in curiosity. He gestured toward the corpses and said, "Please let me take these bodies." Han Sunjun frowned. "Why?" With a cheerful smile, the man replied, "Because you saved me. In exchange, I'll give you a skill." A voice rang out, "Gluttony!" An eye appeared in the palm of his hand, sucking in all the corpses effortlessly. He retracted his hand, wiping sweat from his forehead, and sighed in satisfaction. "That's incredible." Han Sunjun watched silently, thinking, "Is that a skill?" The man pointed at the screen, grinning. "As promised, a skill for you." System notification. Skill accepted from Gluttony Manager. A useful skill has been added to the skill shop. Han Sunjun smiled. "I didn't expect to get another skill." The new skill allowed him to manifest wings on his back, granting flight. With just purchase points, it could be used immediately. Han Sunjun chuckled. "Thanks, I'll try it back in the waiting area." Notifications rolled in. Beak Ha Sword Master Manager warned not to approach his challengers. Gluttony Manager was furious at this unethical business. Bloodsteel Tyrant Manager complained about trespassers near the contractors. Dark Demon Manager observed the three-way argument. Han Sunjun grinned at the manager's heated debate, thinking, "This is entertaining." He pondered seriously. Judging by how they're fighting over the challengers, they must want something from them, perhaps auction items or gambling rewards. A voice beside him continued, "Auction and gambling districts, and I have some info that might help you. Currently, other dimensions are known to be invading, Ares, Martial Arts World, and Kalian. They are the only three invading Earth's space. He thought, so knights come from Ares, and Beak Sialwa from martial arts world. The guide went on, Kalian is home to spirits, humans, and beast folk. Han Sunjiyun raised an eyebrow. You sure know a lot. The man winked, survey data. They walked and talked until they reached a grand gate. The man handed Han Sunjiyun a card. Not much, but it's my business card. Han Sunjiyun took it curiously. Ah, so you're the captain of the challenge management team under the Hunters Guild. System notification. You have entered the common area. Abnormal statuses restored. Challengers may not fight each other. People around stopped to read the notification. The man behind him exclaimed excitedly, interesting. He clasped his hands, thrilled. I was heading straight to the auction. Han Sunjiyun looked ahead, indifferent. Fine, I have my own destination. The man's curiosity piqued. Where are you going? Han Sunjiyun grinned with excitement. The arena. He stepped forward, scanning the crowd. People shouted over a match. How did that guy lose again? I bet a skill on him. Han Sunjiyun observed, thinking, the arena feels more like a sports betting zone. System notification. Dark Demon Manager reminisced about past glory. Bloodsteel Tyrant Manager turned away in disgust. Beak Sword Master Manager was thrilled by the arena's atmosphere. Han Sunjiyun sat back, straight-backed, legs apart, elbows resting on armrests, hands clasped before his stomach. System notification. Arena system activated. Please choose bet or fight. Han Sunjiyun blinked in surprise. Bet or fight. He pressed the help button. The screen explained. Betting, place wagers on participants. Gain or lose points depending on outcomes. Fighting, face challengers for rewards. True identities and rankings are revealed once a match is confirmed. Once a match is confirmed, you're automatically transported to the arena. The focus is on rewards, skills, items, and authorities. Han Sunjiyun pointed at the screen and chuckled. All right, let's see if there's a reward worth my time. Crowds gathered around, whispering and murmuring in excitement. Is that Hell Witch Catherine Bennett? That's the famous American hunter. Some clasped their hands in awe, murmuring prayers. I've never seen her in real life before. A red-haired beauty crossed her legs with a serious expression and pointed at the screen. She stared at it intently before speaking aloud. No one dares to challenge me. Is it because I've won too many times? Glancing at her personal battle history, she mused. If the records weren't visible, maybe more would step up. The screen displayed a giggling fire magic master manager, noting how weak everyone else was. Catherine scoffed. I guess this place is full of cowards, pathetic. She was about to leave, saying, better to walk away than waste my time. Suddenly her eyes lit up like she had spotted something unexpected. The screen flashed. You have received a challenge. Looking at the challenger's profile, she muttered, Han Sunjiyun. Despite never participating before, he had chosen her. Excitement sparked in her voice. Interesting. System notification. Battle confirmed. You are being transported to the arena. The two faced each other on the battlefield. Catherine spoke first, smiling slyly. I like your courage, but choose your opponents more carefully next time. Han Sunjiyun remained silent, eyes locked on her. System notification. Han Sunjiyun versus Catherine Bennett. The match began. Catherine arrogantly extended her hand, fiery claws manifesting. Consider this a lesson, she taunted. She raised her hand to the sky, conjuring a massive fireball, activating her authority, Inferno Blaze. Han Sunjiyun watched silently, still holding back. The fiery claws shot forward, a blazing sphere barreling toward him. Han Sunjiyun leapt, sword in one hand, shield in the other, narrowly evading the flames. Catherine sneered, "It's over!" Activating her sword mastery authority, a wave of sword energy struck the fireball. Han Sunjiyun sliced the fireball in half with his own sword energy, paying no attention to the flames behind him. He surged forward, closing in on Catherine. Seeing her attack deflected effortlessly, her eyes widened in shock, mouth agape. Smoke swirled around them as the fire died down. Han Sunjiyun's calm voice cut through the haze. A lesson right. Outside, sunlight streamed through the bamboo forest. In a quiet room, a figure with platinum hair watched the duel reflected in a water basin. A slender hand lifted a steaming cup of tea, observing silently. He mastered sword energy faster than expected, the figure whispered, a smile playing on her lips as she lightly played with a small bird perched on her shoulder. From now on, I need to earn this challenger's favor before anyone else. The bird spread its wings and took flight. The observer thought, this challenger may handle a feud I cannot settle myself. Back in the arena, the battle raged. Flames surged forward. Han Sun-Jiun activated instant acceleration, leaping through the attack. He swung his sword repeatedly, cutting down the incoming fire. Suddenly, fire struck the back of his cloak. He spun, planting his hands on the ground mid-jump, flames licking the fabric. He realized without wind support, the cloak couldn't perform at its peak. Catherine grinned, raising her hand, the fire above intensifying. How long do you think you can survive? Manager's reactions flashed on the screen. Bloodsteel Tyrant Manager observed, intrigued by the flames. Beekha Sword Master Manager placed high expectations on him. Dark Demon Manager laughed at the fiery spectacle. Catherine hurled a massive fireball at him. Han Sun-Jiun kept cutting through every flame. 3 minutes had passed since activating Master Sword Energy with mana consumption up by 6%. 4 minutes in, it rose to 8%. Han Sun-Jiun thought seriously, the longer this battle drags, the more it works against me. His chest absorbed a soul. System notification, absorbed soul of Challenger Beexialwa, permanent attribute increase. Intelligence +2, speed +1, strength +3, mana +3, endurance +2. Skill gained, Thunder Sword Energy. Han Sun-Jiun's eyes widened. Thunder Sword Energy, a critical strike, I can launch sword energy now. Catherine sneered, you think you have time to get distracted? Han Sun-Jiun looked up, realizing countless fireballs formed a giant ring above him. He dodged falling flames, but 2 fireballs blocked his path. Activating Bloodline, his hand recovered instantly. Sword held horizontally, he muttered, first time, let's see if this works. Activating Master Sword Energy, he swung in a flurry, his strikes slicing through the fire. Catherine tried to defend, holding up twin fire orbs. Thinking quickly, she planned a counterattack. Unexpectedly, Han Sun-Jiun appeared behind her, sword at her neck. Catherine didn't turn, merely sighed. A strength too incredible, I yield. System notification. Challenger Catherine has surrendered. Victory achieved. Reward, brutal sword skill. Transported to common area, floor 10. Han Sun-Jiun returned to his seat, exhausted. He muttered, I went easy for practice, but she was strong. My cloaks burned because of her. He pointed at the screen. Catherine Bennett, remember that name. The system introduced brutal sword. Han Sun-Jiun frowned. I thought it'd be some advanced sword technique, just a thrust. Fooled me. System notification, battle confirmed, transporting to arena. Han Sun-Jiun versus Akizuchi. The match began. Han Sun-Jiun observed his opponent, first in a Japanese server. Aki spoke first. I've been looking forward to this. Your Korea's 3, but you look like a ragged beggar. I doubt your skill. Han Sun-Jiun smirked, silent. Aki glared. What's so funny? Interesting, you think like me. Han Sun-Jiun replied coolly. Aki gritted his teeth. You bastard! He lunged, shouting. Han Sun-Jiun sidestepped effortlessly. 11 in Japan, and that's all, he thought, smiling. I've grown much stronger. With a single swing, Han Sun-Jiun struck Aki down, blood spraying. System notification. Challenger Akizuchi sustained critical damage. Victory achieved. Han Sun-Jiun sneered. That's it. He continued multiple matches consecutively, each ending in victory. System notification. Title earned. Combat Master. Strength +2. Meanwhile, atop a bamboo-covered mountain in China, a figure sat in meditation atop a massive stone. Suddenly, movement approached. Eyes snapping open, he spoke. What's happening? You said Third Elder Beexialwa is dead. A servant bowed respectfully. Yes, Master. Before passing, he said a place called Earth Space recently connected with our dimension. The Master's eyes sharpened, sensing movement. It must have arrived. Suddenly, a monstrous creature roared. Calmly, he rose, gripping his sword embedded in the stone. The monster lunged. He pulled the sword free, leaping onto the rock. The stone exploded under the beast's fury. He tumbled forward, sword thrusting straight into the monster's massive head. The creature thrashed violently. The servant gaped, thinking, subduing a mythical beast so effortlessly, his martial arts are terrifyingly strong. He withdrew the bloodied blade and stood atop the monster, muttering, Earth space sounds intriguing. Back in the arena, Han Sun-jiun stepped out of the space gate. System notification, entered floor 10 waiting room.